starting as a worker from Naruto. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: The Perfect Experiment. The Land of Grass. The moonlight was bright in the dark night. The moonlight fell and reflected on the ground, revealing a dark cave entrance. A series of dull explosions came from the cave. Crack! The mountain wall suddenly cracked. Countless rubble flew and the whole mountain was crumbling. A long-haired man flew out from the rubble, his eyes fixed on the mountain wall that was about to break, and his hands quickly formed ninjutsu hand seals. Summoning technique. The smoke of the summoning technique filled the air. A brown giant python was summoned by the summoning. Before the giant python could react, a nimble young man suddenly jumped out of the mountain wall and punched the giant python on the head. This punch was powerful. Less than a few seconds after the giant python was summoned, it was suddenly smashed in the head by a fist, and it was seriously injured and turned into smoke and disappeared. However, this little time was enough for the summoner to land in a safe position. The long-haired man stood on the ground, not caring about the life or death of the summoned beast at all. He just looked up at the figure with a faint light and licked his lips with his tongue. The greatest work is born. The long-haired man's eyes were full of greed, as if he was looking at the most precious treasure in the world through the diffuse smoke. This amazing chakra. This is the first experimental product that can perfectly match Hashirame's cells in history. The smoke slowly dissipated. A black-haired boy with a bare upper body fell to the ground. This boy was very good-looking, and perhaps most people couldn't help but feel good about him the moment they saw him, but the momentum that bloomed on the boy made people dare not ignore it. What a huge chakra! There are not many ninjas who can do this in the entire ninja world. The boy looked at the long-haired man in front of him, tilted his head curiously, and his clear eyes seemed as innocent as a newborn baby. "Who are you?" the boy asked in a simple voice. The long-haired man was born evil and handsome, with eyes like the vertical pupils of a snake, and a stream of disgusting cold snake breath on his body. There's only one person in the entire ninja world, Orochimaru, one of the three ninjas of Konoha. Orochimaru frowned when he heard the boy's question, and said in a hoarse voice, "It seems that the experiment is still a little dangerous. Is there something wrong with the brain cells?" The boy tilted his head, and the intimidating aura on his body slowly disappeared. "Akihara Kagura?" Orochimaru called the boy's name. However, this name seemed to suddenly arouse the boy's vigilance. The ground under the boy's feet suddenly cracked, and with the help of the acceleration of stepping on the ground, he stretched out his palm towards Orochimaru's head. A wooden thorn drilled out from the boy's palm. The boy's sneak attack was too sudden. In a split second, the wooden thorn was about to pierce Orochimaru's head. Orochimaru hurriedly raised his two fingers, and a series of black curse seals quickly appeared all over the boy's body, fixing the boy's body and making it unable to move. Curse seal. Through the curse seal buried in the target's body in advance, it is launched at a critical moment, so that the target's body will emerge with a curse seal technique that binds the action. In order to avoid possible accidents, Orochimaru had placed the curse seal in the boy's body in advance, but he still felt that the scene that just happened was a bit dangerous. Now, Orochimaru controlled the boy's actions, and his mood finally calmed down slowly, and the evil smile was on his face again. It seems that it can still be done. Bang! The next moment, the chakra on the boy's body surged again. The chakra riot alone set off a frightening sense of oppression. The spell slowly melted under the powerful chakra impact, and the curse seal on the boy's body was slowly disintegrating and disappearing. Orochimaru's figure retreated violently. The boy relied on the chakra surge to remove the curse seal on his body. He glanced at the distance between Orochimaru and himself, and the confusion in his eyes began to slowly dissipate. "Lord Orochimaru." The boy seemed to have regained consciousness, with an expression of uneasiness and apology. "I'm sorry, Lord Orochimaru, my body just went out of control and I couldn't control my actions. Fortunately, you used the cursed seal to help me control my body. This is normal." Orochimaru felt that the boy had returned to normal, and nodded slowly. The smile returned to his face and explained, "Many Hashirama cell transplant subjects will have this sequelae. At least you survived. How do you feel?" "Better than ever." The boy spread his arms and felt the power on his fists. "My physical strength is very strong, my chakra is very abundant, and my perception ability has also been greatly improved. But the bloodline limit is a little strange. The boy stretched out his palm, and a wooden thorn drilled out from the palm. This power is very strong, and you don't even need to do anything to exert it. This is just a negligible power of the bloodline limit. Orochimaru looked at the wooden thorn in the boy's palm, and the smile on his face became even more intense. I will let you learn more powerful wood release ninjutsu. Do you want to learn more? The boy felt a little wronged and whispered, Lord Orochimaru, I thought that after the experiment was successful, you would use the reincarnation technique and use my body as a new container. It's not time yet. Orochimaru's expression was somewhat meaningful. The reincarnation technique is a technique of immortality created by Orochimaru himself. Through mental transfer, taking over the body of another person, one can achieve immortality and even gain the power and knowledge of another person's body. Orochimaru has already performed the reincarnation technique twice. The first time was purely for experimentation, and he chose a body that was quite compatible. The second time, it was because the woman's body he was using now was very compatible with his soul and could fully exert his power. According to Orochimaru's calculations, this woman's body can still be used for a few years. It would be too wasteful to abandon it. Such a compatible body is not easy to find. The most important thing is that the reincarnation technique requires at least 3 years, and Orochimaru has not changed the woman's body for a long time. Orochimaru also hopes that the boy in front of him will learn more ninjutsu, so that when he invades the boy's body in the future, Orochimaru can gain additional knowledge. Compared to semi-finished products, Orochimaru prefers finished products. As for whether the boy in front of him will betray him after he becomes powerful, Orochimaru is not worried about this problem, because he has watched the boy grow up. This little guy is called Akihara Kagura, and he is an orphan. Orochimaru knows these children abandoned by the world very well. As long as they are given a little warmth, they will flutter over like moths. Even if they are thrown into the fire, they will not choose to leave. Theoretically, the boy Akihara Kagura should be the same. The reality is rather outrageous. Akihara Kagura is an exception. The system's prompt sound rang in the boy's mind, reminding him of the fact that he is a time traveler. System prompt, assist your boss Orochimaru in a human experiment. The task has been completed, and the reward of genetic modification technology has been obtained. Newcomer and new book, please collect it. Chapter 2 Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura is a time traveler. In his previous life, Akihara Kagura was still called Akihara, and was an incompetent worker. After all, it is difficult to make money by working. Akihara just wants to find something to do. He has a fixed income and a stable life. This kind of employee who cannot be tied to money has always been a trouble. As it should be. Akihara has been walking on the road of unemployment and employment. After Akihara casually submitted his resume, a strange company sent him an interview invitation, hoping that he could go to the company for a face-to-face discussion. Akihara agreed. However, when Akihara woke up from a sleep, he appeared in this world and became a teenager named Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura is one of the orphans adopted by Orochimaru. He has been staying in an experimental base for many years. His main job is to be responsible for the cleaning of the base and part-time human experiment consumables. Fortunately, Akihara Kagura has a system that will be appreciated by the leader as long as he works hard, which allows him to obtain a feature that can conduct human experiments. The name of the system is fake, but the use is very real. As long as Akihara Kagura chooses a superior and completes the tasks of this superior conscientiously, she can obtain certain task rewards. If Akihara Kagura wants to leave this world, there are only 2 choices. The first choice is the destruction of this world. As long as the company goes bankrupt, she can definitely leave. The second choice is to find a way to be fired from this world and continue to look for a job in the next world. This seems to be quite difficult. What's more, Akihara Kagura doesn't want to leave immediately. This is a rare life experience. As long as she chooses a superior, the system will also issue a new employee gift package. What a pity. Akihara Kagura, who has just arrived, can only choose Orochimaru as her superior. Akihara Kagura opened a super characteristic called Ninja Science from the new employee gift package, so that she could survive this human experiment of transplanting Hashira's cells with a mortality rate of more than 99%. Name, Akihara Kagura. Gender, male. Age, 10 years old. Date of birth, April 4th, 43rd year of the Konoha calendar. Chakra attributes, fire, wind, lightning, earth, water, yang. Total chakra amount, SSS, physical fitness has been greatly enhanced. Strength and speed are far beyond those of ordinary ninjas. Perception ability has been improved. The total chakra amount has reached the limit of normal ninjas. It comes from the transplantation of Hashirama's cells. Skills: wood release, wood clone. A clone technique evolved from the wood release bloodline limit. After a wood clone is destroyed, it can turn into branches to entangle the enemy. At the same time, because wood release chakra can be used as a source of life, compared with other clone techniques, even the more advanced shadow clone techniques, wood clones are more difficult to distinguish between the real and the fake. Wood release, wood stand. A stand technique evolved from the wood release bloodline limit. After being attacked, it can be instantly replaced with a wooden stand. Wood style, wood transformation, a transformation technique that evolves from wood style's bloodline limit. Using wood style to transform into someone else is more difficult to detect than ordinary transformation techniques. Wood style, grafting technique. After the wood style's bloodline limit is awakened, wooden spikes can be extended from various parts of the body. After the wooden spikes are inserted into the enemy's body, they can be made to branch and grow again by means of hand seals, piercing the enemy's body. Genetic modification technology. Special abilities can be engraved into the gene level by strong gene writing. It is more convenient and safer than cell transplant experiments. Features seal-less healing, super strong self-healing ability. It can heal its own body without hand seals. It comes from Hashirama's cell transplant. Wood style bloodline limit. The bloodline limit of the legendary ninja god Senju Hashirama, an extremely rare bloodline in the ninja world. Even the descendants of Senju Hashirama cannot inherit it. It comes from Hashirama's cell transplant. Ninja science. When the host conducts human experiments that conform to the scientific theories of the ninja world will definitely succeed. New employees will be rewarded with a gift package, superior, or Orochimaru. It's obvious. For the system, it is very important to choose a good leader. Orochimaru's ability is all about technology and hard work. According to Akihara Kagura's observation, the system's task rewards are issued according to the situation of the superior, and his career in the ninja world may require many job changes. Just now, in the name of losing control, Akihara Kagura tested attacking Orochimaru and found that there was no problem with attacking his superior, and the system did not have any punishment. Maybe the system encourages job hopping? After all, this kind of part-time job system seems to require many superiors. No, it should be said that this system that exploits part-time workers must encourage Akihara Kagura to work for more superiors. Akihara Kagura also plans to find another superior in the ninja world, because Orochimaru, the superior, is not a good person and has begun to covet his body. Kagura. Orochimaru didn't know that the boy in front of him was already thinking about job hopping and was still planning for the future. He needed Akihara Kagura to learn about wood release ninjutsu. Next, let's go to Konoha. I have an ally in Konoha. When Orochimaru mentioned his ally, he couldn't help but curl up a strange smile at the corner of his mouth. Learn wood release ninjutsu from him, and let me see how far you can go. Besides that, also monitor his alliance with me. Yes. The young Akihara Kagura agreed, and looked up with some doubts and said, Konoha village, the hometown of Lord Orochimaru. Yes. Orochimaru nodded, and his voice became a little careless. Go to my hometown and have a look. The scenery there is beautiful. However, the memories in Orochimaru's eyes quickly faded, and he grinned a strange smile at the corner of his mouth, and said softly, one day, I will go back. Obviously, Orochimaru has bad intentions for his hometown. Akihara Kagura did not comment on this. As a time traveler, Akihara Kagura knew a little about Konoha village. Konoha village. The most powerful ninja village in the ninja world is also the hometown of Orochimaru. It is located in the most prosperous land of fire in the ninja world. The highest leader of Konoha is the Hokage. Orochimaru and his two friends are known as the three ninjas of Konoha. They have made great contributions to Konoha and almost became Hokage. However, his teacher, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, vetoed him on the grounds that his heart was too dark. This is unreasonable. Which ninja in the ninja world is bright? As a result, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen picked out a man who was as warm as the sun to serve as the fourth Hokage. It's a pity that not long after the fourth Hokage took over, the Nine Tails rebellion that shocked the ninja world broke out in Konoha village. The fourth Hokage sacrificed himself to solve the Nine Tails rebellion in Konoha village. However, Orochimaru's opportunity did not come, but a crisis came instead. The third Hokage rejected all candidates and regained power. He discovered that Orochimaru was secretly conducting human experiments and personally led the Anbu to capture Orochimaru. Orochimaru had to defect from Konoha and became a wanted rebel ninja. He went from being a popular candidate for Hokage to an S-rank rebel ninja in the ninja world. Orochimaru's heresy was the main reason, but Orochimaru's ally in Konoha must have taken some blame. That ally was indeed not a good person. Orochimaru wanted to send Akihara Kagura to that ally, but it was an opportunity for Akihara Kagura to get the establishment of Konoha village. This is an establishment. The establishment of the 5 major official institutions in the ninja world. Newcomer, new book, please collect it. Chapter 3 Where's my money? How important is this thing called organization? In the previous life, Akihara Kagura didn't have the chance to get an organization. According to the human relations in the previous life, if Orochimaru offered to help arrange an organization for Akihara Kagura would have to visit and give gifts during festivals. For Akihara Kagura in this life, the organization of Konoha village is still of great use. Akihara Kagura can use it to integrate into the most powerful ninja village in the world. Konoha village is the center of this world. As long as Akihara Kagura enters Konoha, she can know the direction of this world at any time, and even affect the future of this world. What's more, the system has also refreshed the new requirements of the superiors. System prompt, new work task, go to Konoha to find Shimura Danzo, an ally of Orochimaru, learn wood escape ninjutsu, and monitor the covenant between Orochimaru and Shimura Danzo. This work task has no time limit. The concept of work tasks issued by the system comes from the superiors, and there has never been a specified completion time, which makes people feel that they don't know when this work can be completed. However, this is what makes Akihara Kagura most alert. If I follow the routine, I will be trapped in work all my life. Only if I take the initiative to do something can I get rid of a job with no deadline. A rustling sound of snakes suddenly came out. A small white snake suddenly emerged from the bushes and clung to Orochimaru's calf affectionately, looking very attached. Orochimaru bent down and spread out his palm. The small white snake opened its mouth and spit out a scroll, which fell into Orochimaru's palm. This scroll looked even bigger than the small white snake, making it difficult to imagine how it swallowed this scroll. However, after all, this is the ninja world, and such strange things are still very common. Orochimaru opened the scroll in his hand, looked at the handwriting on the scroll, and a wicked smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, as if he saw some interesting news on it. Strictly speaking, this is a harsh question. This is a question from Shimura Danzo. When Orochimaru was still in Konoha, Shimura Danzo had been secretly supporting his wood release human experiment research project, and even helped to find human experiment materials, of course. This kind of investment must require a return. Orochimaru once gave back to Shimura Danzo, and gave him a wood release ninja who had successfully performed the experiment, so that Shimura Danzo saw the hope of the project's success. After all, investors have to see certain results. Although that wood release ninja was far less perfect than Akihara Kagura, that little hope also made Shimura Danzo believe in the prospects of the wood release human experiment research project. Wood release experiment is very interesting and will definitely succeed. Even though Orochimaru has defected and left Konoha, Shimura Danzo is not afraid of the risk of being discovered to be colluding with a rebel ninja, and still takes the trouble to fund Orochimaru's research. But investors are always looking forward to a return on investment. The messages sent by Shimura Danzo are almost all full of his questions. Where is my money? Where did you spend my money? Have you achieved any new results in your experimental project in the past few years? It was not until the back of this letter scroll that Shimura Danzo mentioned one thing. The previous unsuccessful wood release experiment subject was discovered by the third Hokage and taken into the Anbu directly under the Hokage. He hoped that Orochimaru would help him cultivate another wood release ninja through experiments. Similarly, Shimura Danzo also mentioned the request for a meeting. After all, Orochimaru had defected from Konoha for several years and had long been out of Shimura Danzo's surveillance. The investor also wanted to check the progress of Orochimaru's project. Here Orochimaru ignored the question in the scroll, looked at the last request on the scroll, and smiled lightly. This is really a coincidence. It just happens to be an explanation to him. What? Akihara Kagura looked at Orochimaru in surprise. Is this boss hiding something from him? Nothing. Orochimaru smiled at Akihara Kagura, reached out and stroked Akihara Kagura's hair, and said lovingly, Someone will come to pick you up soon. Before that, I will teach you how to unlock a curse seal. What curse seal? The seal of the tongue? Orochimaru said it lightly. The name of this curse seal sounds a bit scary, but the effect of the curse seal is quite poor. In fact, it is not scary at all. This is a sealing curse seal created by Shimura Danzo, mainly used to impose on his subordinates to prevent his subordinates from leaking his information. By planting the seal of the tongue under a person's tongue, the person who is planted with the curse seal will trigger the curse seal if he wants to mention the news of Shimura Danzo, and he can't speak or even move his body. Another purpose of Orochimaru wanting Akihara Kagura to go to Konoha to join Shimura Danzo is to act as his undercover. From time to time, he will need Akihara Kagura to pass on information to him, and of course he will not let Akihara Kagura be bound by the seal of the tongue. In addition to the method of removing the seal of extermination of tongue, Orochimaru also recalled his hometown in front of Akihara Kagura, so that Akihara Kagura knew a little bit about Konoha. My teacher, the third generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, he has ruled Konoha for decades. Maybe he is very old. The teacher has become a little soft-hearted even when facing people who may harm Konoha. The young Akihara Kagura raised his eyebrows. There are many anecdotes about the characters in Konoha village, and the young man knows a lot of secrets. The third generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen makes people think that he is soft-hearted and a kind-looking old man. That's because someone plays a cruel and ruthless role. Konoha is the most powerful organization in the ninja world, and it can never be in the sun. Naturally, it also needs some shady characters to deal with the dark secrets. There is no doubt. Shimura Danzo is such a character. Akihara Kagura wants to know more about the stories of his future boss. Akihara Kagura listened quietly to Orochimaru's memories of Sarutobi Hiruzen, and asked curiously at the right time, "What about Danzo Shimura, whom Orochimaru asked me to go to? What kind of person is he? Is there anything I need to pay attention to?" Danzo. The smile on Orochimaru's face suddenly became more intense, and he said grimly, "Danzo is the shadow hidden behind the third Hokage. The life of a ninja is dark. Hokage is the source of the darkness of ninjas. Humans always like to beautify themselves. My teacher likes to act upright and approachable, so he needs someone to help him deal with some troubles in the dark." Orochimaru actually smiled with some complacency, as if he had found the unbearable side of the third Hokage, and continued to sneer, "My teacher has always been so hypocritical. He didn't want people to know that he was contaminated with darkness. The wood-release human experiment with an almost 100% mortality rate was first proposed by him, but his will was too fragile and he couldn't bear the cost of the experiment failing." The young Akihara Kagura wanted to pick his ears. Why does Orochimaru have to mention his teacher whenever he talks about Konoha? It has been several years since he defected from Konoha. Why is Orochimaru still mocking the third Hokage? Isn't it just that he didn't let Orochimaru become the Hokage of Konoha village? Isn't it just that he was driven out of his hometown? Isn't it Orochimaru who was at fault first? Now I just want to hear the story of Danzo-sama. Please collect the new book. The second update will be at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Does anyone know the update time for the new book? Chapter 4 New Work Tasks. Orochimaru really resented his teacher. Fortunately, Orochimaru probably knew that he was an adult, and there was a limit to what he could say behind his back, and he could not show his immature side in front of the boy. Anyway, my teacher is too kind and a little cowardly to want to be contaminated by the dark side. If you meet the third Hokage in Konoha, be sure to stay away from the old man. His mouth is best at bewitching people, and people are always easily brainwashed by his sweet words. But Lord Orochimaru, you are also good at brainwashing others. Akihara Kagura couldn't help but complain in her heart. Maybe Orochimaru seemed to have thought of something, and smiled softly. "I don't need to worry about this problem either. Danzo would never dare to let you get close to the third Hokage." Orochimaru stretched out his hand and patted Akihara Kagura on the shoulder, with a rare serious look on his face. "Kagura, you are my most perfect work. The first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, is known as the god of ninjas, and your cells are almost perfectly assimilated with his. You are the most talented child of this era." The boy nodded silently. He knew this before the wood release experiment, otherwise why would he dare to take the risk to accept human experiments? Then what about Danzo? Fortunately, Orochimaru did not forget Akihara Kagura's question, and chatted about Shimura Danzo casually, and seemed to look down on his investor. However, Akihara Kagura listened very seriously. Shimura Danzo is his future boss. Especially since this guy is undoubtedly the most difficult boss in Konoha village, it is very necessary to find out the boss's preferences in advance for how to carry out future work. Shimura Danzo, the assistant of the Hokage of Konoha village. A short-sighted but ambitious old man. Since the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo were teammates who knew each other for life and death in their youth, the third Hokage was extremely tolerant of Shimura Danzo, gave Danzo considerable power, and secretly acquiesced to Danzo helping Konoha deal with dirty troubles. The young Akihara Kagura felt that Orochimaru was a little bit unfair. The little information Orochimaru said was not as good as what he knew. How could he carry out his work in Konoha in the future? Obviously. Orochimaru did not notice this. Orochimaru thought that the young Akihara Kagura should not like the gloomy old guy like Shimura Danzo. He wanted to talk to Akihara Kagura about some children he cared about in Konoha. Konoha has a very interesting child. The little guy has shown outstanding talent since he was a child, and he also happens to have a blood limit that is a natural enemy of the wood release form. Who is it? The young Akihara Kagura was indeed a little curious. In Konoha of this era, there seemed to be quite a lot of geniuses in the village. The genius that Orochimaru could not forget was definitely not an ordinary person. Uchiha Itachi. Orochimaru read out a name that was familiar to Akihara Kagura, and continued to talk to himself. That little guy is a real genius. Even in peacetime, he cannot hide his ninja qualities and talents that far exceed those of his peers. Orochimaru remembered the scene when he saw the young Uchiha Itachi training in a training room, and he couldn't help but sigh at the talent of the little guy. If that child is him, maybe he can awaken a higher level of Sharingan. The expression of the young Akihara Kagura was a little strange. However, as a worker, Akihara Kagura was very professional. Seeing that Orochimaru was obsessed with a genius child, he took the initiative to speak up to help his boss. If Lord Orochimaru wants to see Uchiha Itachi again, I will find an opportunity in the future and find a way to bring him to you. Okay. Orochimaru showed a look of approval to the tactful boy. Wood Release and Sharingan are undoubtedly the two most outstanding bloodlines. If Akihara Kagura can really bring Uchiha Itachi to him in the future, Orochimaru plans to let the two geniuses fight face to face, and he will occupy the body of whoever wins. As for whether Uchiha Itachi will agree to become a container, Orochimaru doesn't care. He only needs a glance to make Uchiha Itachi unable to move. The surface of the young Akihara Kagura is still very respectful. If he can really bring Uchiha Itachi to Orochimaru in the future, Akihara Kagura plans to let Orochimaru and Uchiha Itachi fight face to face, so that Orochimaru can realize the power of Sharingan and become completely addicted to Sharingan. What's more, the system determines that this is a job required by the boss. System prompt, new work task, find an opportunity to bring Uchiha Itachi to Orochimaru. Akihara Kagura swears to complete this kind of work well. Even if these two people meet in some places where they shouldn't meet in the future, Akihara Kagura must find a way to let them meet again. Time passed a little too fast. Perhaps Orochimaru was too obsessed with a research experiment. Time passed a little slowly. Perhaps Akihara Kagura was too eager to go to Konoha. On the fourth day, someone finally came to the base. An old man with a cane appeared around the base. His head was wrapped in bandages, and even the bandage was wrapped around one of his eye sockets, as if someone had scratched one of his eyes. Two ninjas followed the old man closely, looking at the surrounding environment with a vigilant look, fearing that the old man would encounter danger in the base. Danzo-sama. One of the ninjas looked at the rebel on the ground and persuaded in a deep voice, there was a fierce battle here not long ago. Maybe Orochimaru encountered an enemy. We can't be here. Not an enemy. Orochimaru walked out with Akihara Kagura and said with a smile on his face, it's just a little noise made by Kagura after the experiment was successful. The two ninjas immediately stopped in front of the old man. Although they knew that there was a connection between the old man and Orochimaru, in terms of identity, Orochimaru was an S-level rebel ninja in the village. Just by being a traitor, Orochimaru is a dangerous person. Back off. The old man shooed away his subordinates with one sentence, looked up at Orochimaru, and said slowly, long time no see, Orochimaru, it seems that you have been doing well recently. The old man spoke slowly, as if to make others try their best to hear what he said, in order to show his superiority. However, the old man soon exposed his characteristics. Without waiting for Orochimaru to answer, he looked at Akihara Kagura next to him and asked in a deep voice, the experiment you just mentioned was successful? This child. Yes, it's what you want. Orochimaru's mouth corners were raised, and he said slowly, compared to the last immature work, Kagura's wood release is more powerful. Leave this child to me. The old man half squinted his eyes, and there was some unquestionable firmness in his voice. Only Konoha can use the power of wood release. Please collect it. Chapter 5 New Superiors, New Gains. Wood Release Bloodline. This is undoubtedly Danzo Shimura's lifelong obsession. As for what Danzo Shimura said, that only Konoha can use the power of wood release, everyone present knew that it was just a joke and no one would take it seriously. This old guy said that he did everything for Konoha, but secretly he wanted to hold all the power in his own hands. No. Danzo Shimura hoped that he could get these powers himself. If he could create a second wood release ninja, it would mean that Orochimaru's technology was barely mature. Danzo Shimura's heart was burning. Maybe he could also transplant Hashirama's cells and awaken the wood release bloodline of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. The old man's eyes suddenly fell from the boy's body to Orochimaru's face, and he immediately asked Orochimaru a question that he wanted to know the answer to the most. Orochimaru, does the awakening of wood release in this child mean that Hashirama's cells can be successfully transplanted into other people's bodies? No. Orochimaru shook his head, and his words were like cold water that extinguished the old man's anger. The successful transplantation of cells in Kagura's body was just an accidental situation in the experiment. Okay. The old man's mood suddenly became a little unhappy. But Orochimaru changed the subject, and a hint of ambiguous smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I have found another experimental idea through this experiment, but I still need some precious experimental materials and a lot of funds. Akihara Kagura looked at Orochimaru in surprise. The success of Hashirama's cell transplantation experiment this time was entirely because he had a ninja science characteristic in his body. Any human experiment on himself will be successful as long as it conforms to the theory of ninja science. How could it give Orochimaru any new experimental ideas? The investor Danzo Shimura was not very clear about the situation. The old man frowned slightly, and seemed to be in a dilemma. Finally, he agreed, make a list of what you need. I will try my best to prepare it for you. I hope I can find something that satisfies me next time. Next time, for sure. Orochimaru nodded, and the smile on his lips gradually became stronger. Then I will take him away. Shimura Danzo waved to the boy, and a touch of gentleness appeared in his old and gloomy voice. The child is called Akihara Kagura. Yes. Orochimaru nodded again, pushed the boy's shoulder, and said with a smile, treat this child well, I don't want him to have any problems, and his body may be used in future experiments. The boy Akihara Kagura was pushed towards Danzo. I know. Shimura Danzo nodded and agreed. Shimura Danzo reached out and stroked the boy's hair. After thinking for a moment, he said, from today on, you are a member of the Root. Forget your name, your code name is Jia. The boy's expression was stunned. Damn, old man, have you lived too long? Akihara Kagura almost forgot about this. All the members of the Root organization under Shimura Danzo will be forced to give up their names and feelings, and only have a code name to symbolize their lives. However, system prompt, you have a new superior, Shimura Danzo, reward a newcomer gift package, open new features. Comma, system prompt, you have a new superior, Sarutobi Hirozen, reward a newcomer gift package, open new features. Comma, darkness of the ninja world, when the host needs information, the required information will be obtained, and the newcomer gift package will be rewarded. Ninja professor, when the host learns ninjutsu, the ninjutsu that conforms to the theory of ninjutsu will definitely be successfully learned, and the newcomer gift package will be rewarded. Yes, Danzo. Akihara Kagura quickly agreed. Although the old guy Shimura Danzo is not a good thing, and even wants to change his name, the gift package of the superior is really powerful. And once you become a subordinate of Shimura Danzo, you can automatically obtain the Konoha organization. Theoretically, all the ninjas in Konoha village are subordinates of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hirozen, and they also got another gift package for new employees. Moreover, these two characteristics, whether it is the intelligence ability brought by darkness of the ninja world, or the learning ability brought by ninja professor, are all what Akihara Kagura urgently needs. Shimura Danzo is a good leader. Akihara Kagura feels that it doesn't matter if someone changes his name. When Shimura Danzo doesn't want to live in the future, he has to find a way to leave a complete body for Danzo. Shimura Danzo didn't know that the boy next to him had already had the idea of seeing him off. He waved his hand to signal his two subordinates, intending to take Akihara Kagura away from here. Before leaving, Shimura Danzo seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly turned around, looked at Orochimaru and said, "By the way, this base is no longer safe." Orochimaru frowned immediately. Compared with other bases, this base has more complete experimental equipment. It is even well organized because it has been managed by Akihara Kagura, a time traveler who has received modern education. Orochimaru wants to use this base as a long-term base. I received a piece of information. Shimura Danzo's face was not very good, as if he was referring to someone he didn't want to mention. An old friend of yours appeared in the town near this base. I know. Orochimaru immediately thought of a tall white-haired man. Orochimaru's expression was not very good either. He clenched his teeth and snorted, "That Jiraiya guy is really lingering around. Someone reported his whereabouts to me. Since you left Konoha, Jiraiya has been secretly investigating your news. He is as stupid and naive as your teacher, but he is a trouble to us." Danzo Shimura has always disliked Jiraiya, who has a temperament similar to Hiruzen Sarutobi. He said in a cold voice, "If you find an opportunity, it's best to kill him to prevent him from causing trouble again." I know. Orochimaru's face suddenly became uglier, and he said in a deep voice, "Jiraiya is not so easy to deal with. I can leave Ryoma to help you." Danzo Shimura pointed to a guard ninja beside him. "Ryoma and you are old partners, between you. No need." Orochimaru rejected the proposal with a cold face, and said nonchalantly, "That waste Jiraiya has not been my opponent since the ninja school. Then I'll leave first." Danzo Shimura nodded. Akihara Kagura stood by and was a little speechless. Lord Danzo is old, and his eyesight is not good. Can't he see such a small thing? It's better to hope that you can kill the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen in this life than to expect Orochimaru to kill Jiraiya in this life. Please collect the new book. The second update will be tomorrow. Chapter 6. You don't agree with the will of our root organization. On the way back to Konoha, Shimura Danzo always thought that Akihara Kagura was a well-behaved child. All children who were used as experimental subjects would be frightened and obedient by the horrific human experiments. As a result, this little guy was an exception. Along the way, Akihara Kagura showed great curiosity about things in the outside world. Even when resting by the river, he would ask them if they knew how to fish. Fishing? Only those with a lazy attitude towards life would fish. As the root supporting the darkness of Konoha, how could he waste time on such things? Even when it was absolutely necessary, he would only use the method of forking fish to supplement food. Shimura Danzo realized that this child might be very curious about the world, and perhaps he had never seen the real darkness. He needed to cultivate him well after returning. As long as the little guy could see the cruelty of this world, he would definitely become well-behaved and sensible. Shimura Danzo felt that he was very good at taking care of children, especially at cultivating a child with a slightly normal mind into a tool for killing people. However, Akihara Kagura quickly changed his mind. Wood release, cutting technique. Akihara Kagura used wood release to demonstrate a spearing fish operation by the river. A wooden thorn emerged from the boy's palm and was suddenly thrust into the river by him, piercing a large fish over 1 meter long. The large fish immediately struggled violently. The next moment, the boy's fingers were put together. The wooden thorns actually forked and grew again. A group of dense wooden thorns grew out of the body of the large fish, directly piercing the body of the large fish, and the blood instantly dyed the river red. This wood release looked extremely cruel. Master Danzo, I caught a fish. Akihara Kagura looked at Shimura Danzo with joy on her face. The boy's smile seemed extremely innocent and pure, but in this bloody way of fishing, he seemed particularly cold-blooded and ruthless, as if killing lives was fun for him. This is a natural killing tool. Really? The old man looked at the bloody scene in front of him and slowly uttered a rare compliment. Exquisite wood release. A good boy regardless of the boy's wood release bloodline or his attitude towards life. Shimura Danzo felt that he had really found a good seedling this time. In the future, he just needed to ensure that he was loyal to him. Konoha Village. The richest ninja village in the ninja world. Shimura Danzo was worried that his whereabouts would be discovered, and he also wanted to see how perfect Akihara Kagura's wood release talent was, so he hurriedly took the boy back to Konoha. When Shimura Danzo returned to the village, he never liked to go through the main gate, but liked to sneak from the back mountain of Konoha to open the seal barrier and return to the base of the root organization. Akihara Kagura followed Shimura Danzo and jumped into a well. When they entered the base of the root organization, They felt a gloomy and dark atmosphere. This boss's style of doing things is too dark. The entire base of the root organization is hidden deep underground. Even though many classical pavilions and towers were built inside the root organization's base, and some were even luxuriously attached to the mountain wall, they could not change the gloomy feeling under the darkness. Bang, bang, bang. The dull sound of knocking on wood echoed underground. A group of people couldn't help but look back at the boy who suddenly knocked on the railing. Shimura Danzo's expression was a little unhappy, expressing dissatisfaction with the boy's behavior, and said coldly, "What are you doing? Be quiet." "Yes, Danzo-sama." After responding, Akihara Kagura explained, "I thought it would be a stone railing, but it turned out to be wooden. Lord Orochimaru once mentioned." "Shut up." Shimura Danzo's face showed a trace of anger, his eyes fixed on the boy, and his voice was cold. From today on, completely forget the name of Orochimaru." "Yes, Danzo-sama." Akihara Kagura agreed again and continued, "That adult mentioned that the air underground is humid, and wooden buildings are easy to rot." Everyone present was silent. Shimura Danzo thought that he might have been too reserved in what he said just now. He wanted to repeat it again to make the little guy forget Orochimaru as a person and not just forget the name of Orochimaru, but it seemed that he was a bit too fussy. "I'm going to handle official business." Shimura Danzo shook his hands helplessly and ordered his subordinates, "Ryoma, help him arrange a place to live, let him understand the will of the root, and then take him to see me." "Yes." Aburame Ryoma nodded respectfully and looked at the boy coldly. "Follow me, don't run around, there are many forbidden areas in this base." "I know." Akihara Kagura followed Aburame Ryoma obediently. The base of the root organization is very large. The entire base is like a huge well, with a group of tall classical buildings clinging to the stone wall, and a series of covered bridges connecting these buildings together. This is your residence." Aburame Ryoma took Akihara Kagura to a dormitory. There was only one cabinet in the whole room, a quilt was laid on the floor, and a lamp was placed in the corner. It looked a bit empty. Akihara Kagura looked at her residence and made a request, "Put a bed for me. I don't like sleeping on the floor." "No." Aburame Ryoma shook her head and said coldly, "Members of the root do not need to have useless emotions and external feelings. All you have to do is accept the arrangement." Akihara Kagura raised her eyebrows and asked, "Is this person my superior? Or, will you be my superior in the future?" "No, and I won't." Aburame Ryoma shook her head again and replied, "Only Danzo is the only superior, and everyone's actions are based on Danzo's orders. This is the theory. In fact, the root also has some unspoken rules. As Shimura Danzo's personal bodyguard, Aburame Ryoma's status is obviously higher than other members. However, the members of the root have no distractions in their hearts. There are only tasks sent by Danzo. When have they ever cared about the status of superiors and subordinates? Now I will convey the will of the root to you." Aburame Ryoma did not notice the boy's emotions, and continued to himself, "The members of the root have no names, no feelings, no past, and no future. They only have missions in their hearts. What supports the big tree of Konoha is the will of our root. What's your name?" Akihara Kagura asked her first question. Aburame Ryoma. "Don't you have a name? Aren't you a member of the root?" "This is not a name." Aburame Ryoma answered very quickly, as if he had already received similar brainwashing. "Aburame Ryoma is my code name in the root. Lord Danzo is familiar with my past, so he used my past name as my code name in the root. You are remembering that you have a past." Akihara Kagura seemed to have found a loophole, and said slowly, "This is not in line with the will of our root. Good morning. Please collect it." I changed the code name and used A again, because when I was reviewing, I found that the root already had B. Chapter 7. Why do you dare to call this name? Aburame Ryoma had an illusion. Akihara Kagura was a newcomer to the root organization, but when this boy spoke, he sounded like a leader in charge of personnel. He seemed like a newcomer applying for a job. Aburame Ryoma thought that something was wrong with this conversation. After thinking for a while, Aburame Ryoma realized that he could not answer the questions raised by Akihara Kagura, nor could he interpret the will of the root. If you can't solve the problem, you can only solve the person who raised the question. Aburame Ryoma simply refused to get entangled with Akihara Kagura, and said in a cold voice, "Kid, the affairs of your seniors are not your concern, just take care of your own problems. I just don't quite understand what the will of the root represents." Akihara Kagura looked at Aburame Ryoma and asked a question, without the past and the future, what is my life? Mission. Aburame Ryoma immediately answered this question, it is enough to just carry out the mission seriously, and there is no need to think about what your life is. Then tell me. Akihara Kagura raised a philosophical question, the tasks I will do in the future will become the past, so are the tasks in the past meaningful? Are the tasks in the future that I haven't done meaningful? Aburame Ryoma fell silent. This ninja from the Aburame clan understood the philosophical thinking proposed by Akihara Kagura, and finally decided to choose the simplest solution, it is enough to just carry out the mission seriously, and there is no need to think about whether your mission is meaningful. Akihara Kagura couldn't help but admire the other party a little. Aburame Ryoma was afraid that this little guy would ask some strange philosophical questions again, and planned to completely cut off the kid's messy thoughts with words. You are a member of the root, you don't need to think about these questions at all. What you have to do is forget your name, forget your feelings, forget your past, forget your future, and just carry out the task assigned to you by Danzo-sama. Okay, I know, Akihara Kagura agreed perfunctorily. I hope you can do it. Just when Aburame Ryoma thought he had finally solved the problem, a fist suddenly hit his lower abdomen and slammed him against the wall. I understand the reason. The young Akihara Kagura twisted his wrist and said in a cold voice, but Aburame Ryoma, who allowed you to call the name Aburame? What? Aburame Ryoma spat out a mouthful of blood with a look of astonishment. Whether from the perspective of identity or strength, or even from a logical perspective, Aburame Ryoma couldn't figure out why this newcomer wanted to attack him. The most important thing is that this kid is so strong and so fast. Akihara Kagura's physical fitness is amazing, and Aburame Ryoma has no idea that Orochimaru relies on the curse seal to restrain Akihara Kagura in order to avoid a boy's sneak attack. Aburame Ryoma, a Jonin, had no time to react and was severely injured by the boy's sneak attack. His internal organs were even damaged by the punch. The name Gio was given to me by Lord Danzo. Akihara Kagura walked in front of Aburame Ryoma, looked at the seriously injured senior, and explained in a cold voice why she attacked Aburame Ryoma. Remember this from today. In this world only Lord Danzo can call me Gia. Aburame Ryoma couldn't understand the boy's train of thought. This kid must have some problems with his brain. Aburame Ryoma opened his mouth and spat out blood again, saying, is just a code name, and it is also the only code name you can use in the future, but it is not what you can call it. Akihara Kagura shook her head, as if thinking for a while, and said, if you look for me in the future, call me by the name I used in the past. Anyway, it is not that our roots have no special cases of using past names. I know, wait, this is not right. Aburame Ryoma looked at the boy standing next to him, and decided not to be affected by the boy's way of thinking, and gradually began to tend to normal. The child is still too arrogant, maybe Orochimaru spoiled you too much before. Aburame Ryoma slowly struggled to fall off the wall, holding his aching lower abdomen, and said with great pain, newcomers really need to be taught a lesson. A group of black insects drilled out of his mouth. This scene looks a bit scary. This is the secret technique of the Aburame clan from Konoha village, which raises insects in the body and uses them to fight in battle. Little brat, you'd better show some respect to your seniors. Aburame Ryoma controlled the bugs to quickly entangle Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura's face changed slightly. Even if it was a small bug, when it was densely packed together, it would make people feel a little scalp tingling, not to mention that these bugs were strange species in the ninja world. However, bugs are just bugs after all, and their speed is pitifully slow. Akihara Kagura paused, flew around the bugs, and pounced on Aburame Ryoma. He knew very well that these people's bodies were pitifully fragile. Bang! The boy's fist landed on Aburame Ryoma again. This time, the fist felt weightless, as if it had hit the air. It was indeed hitting the air, and Aburame Ryoma's body instantly turned into a group of bugs. Is this a bug clone? Akihara Kagura couldn't help but widen her eyes. Secret technique, Bug Jade. In the blink of an eye, this group of bugs completely surrounded Akihara Kagura's body, as if they had smelled some delicious food, and they were biting the chakra in Akihara Kagura's body crazily. Akihara Kagura was covered in a layer of insect mist, as if she was wrapped in a layer of black clothes. Aburame Ryoma's real body slowly appeared, looking at the boy surrounded by his own insects, and sneered and began to educate the newcomer. Little brat, don't be scared by the bugs. When I released the bugs, I secretly created a bug clone based on my understanding of little brats of your age. They will only attack my body with fists at the beginning of the battle, and it is enough to use some low-level ninjutsu to set traps. Now be good. Aburame Ryoma spread his hands, and seemed very satisfied with his first lesson to the newcomer. The chakra in your body will soon be devoured by my parasitic bugs. Then let your bugs work harder. Akihara Kagura's voice came out from the insect mist, saying, Aburame Ryoma, haven't you let them eat enough? What's going on? Aburame Ryoma frowned in surprise. This little brat has not lost the ability to resist? Is this little brat's chakra a little too abundant? What surprised Aburame Ryoma the most was that this little devil's mentality was too strong. He was not afraid of these dense insects at all. This is such a waste of time. Akihara Kagura stretched out his arm, watching some of the insects that had eaten too much fall from his body, and slowly concluded. Insects are just insects after all. What insects should do is hide in the corner and live. Instead of being arrogant and thinking that they can solve an enemy whose power they can't imagine by relying on numbers. Fell asleep. Keep asking for collection. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, The Will of Danzo-sama is the will of the root, but the will of the root may not be the will of Danzo-sama. Aburame Ryoma had never seen such a sight. Akihara Kagura simply stood there, and the dense swarm of insects surrounding the boy fell to the ground one after another, and the ground was covered with a thick layer of insects. How could an enemy be bitten by insects without caring? How could the insects he raised be so full? Aburame Ryoma used the family's secret technique to deal with many enemies. Whenever an enemy was entangled by the swarm of insects he controlled, the swarm would heat up all the chakra in his body and lose the ability to fight. This time, an accident finally happened. As Akihara Kagura said, insects are just insects after all. The chakra that insects can contain is limited, and the imagination of Aburame Ryoma, the insect breeder, is also limited. He never thought that someone's chakra could be so abundant that the parasitic insects in his body lost their ability to move. Secret technique, insect cocoon. Aburame Ryoma has other methods. The Aburame clan often encounters the problem of insufficient insects during battles, so they also have a unique secret technique to use chakra to form insect cocoons to hatch more insects. Parasitic bug hurricane. A group of insect mist turned into a tornado and attacked Akihara Kagura. I told you. Bugs are just bugs after all. Akihara Kagura crushed the floor with one foot, and the chakra in his body surged. The chakra fluctuations on the boy made Aburame Ryoma feel that he was in a great crisis, not to mention that they were just bugs hatched by him. The insect mist that encountered the chakra surge suddenly froze, as if it was blown by a hurricane, and countless bugs flew out, all of which were smashed against the wall by this strong impact. This chakra. A drop of cold sweat flowed down Aburame Ryoma's forehead. In all these years, this is the first time that Aburame Ryoma has seen someone simply surge the chakra in his body to form such a powerful force. Just the strength of his chakra alone, Aburame Ryoma can be said to have never seen it before. This kid is a very scary guy. While Aburame Ryoma was still amazed, he saw Akihara Kagura's body suddenly turned into a black shadow and rushed towards him, frightening him so much that he hurriedly dodged. It seems that he doesn't have any fighting skills. Aburame Ryoma looked at the boy's somewhat clumsy attack method, and felt relieved. Although the chakra is very strong, he has never received formal ninja training. It must be said that this kid has good talent, but he still has a long way to go to become a powerful force of the root organization. Little guy, the battle of ninjas is not as simple as just looking at chakra. Aburame Ryoma's mood slowly relaxed, and quietly appeared beside Akihara Kagura, and hit his shoulder and neck heavily with his elbow. Akihara Kagura felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. However, when Akihara Kagura turned around, Aburame Ryoma had already turned sideways in front of the boy and kicked him in the chest. Akihara Kagura flew backwards. Aburame Ryoma flew forward and chased after him, tightly holding the boy's neck, and directly pressed the boy's body against the wall. Are you willing to be honest now? A strange smile appeared on the boy's face. This strange smile made Aburame Ryoma's heart tighten. Does this kid have any other means of fighting? Now that this kid has been controlled by me, can he still cast a seal to cast a ninjutsu? Crack! Akihiro Kagura's clothes suddenly broke. A sharp wooden thorn drilled out of his body and pierced Aburame Ryoma's shoulder. This is a seal-less ninjutsu. The wooden thorn of the wood-release blood successor is not cast by using ninjutsu, but grows from the body of the blood successor? I was too careless. Aburame Ryoma immediately realized his crisis. Aburame Ryoma would naturally not be afraid of a wooden thorn, but he had seen the boy use the wooden thorn to catch fish with his own eyes, and knew clearly how dangerous this wooden thorn was. This wooden thorn will grow in his body. Even if this thorn is only at the shoulder, once it branches and grows in the body, it will surely penetrate the whole body. If you want to get rid of the crisis, either stop the boy from making a seal or pull out this thorn as soon as possible. However, it's too late. Bang! Taking advantage of the moment when Aburame Ryoma lost consciousness, Akihiro Kagura slammed her elbow against the wall, and used her body to knock Aburame Ryoma out. Wood release, cutting Akihiro Kagura raised her finger. I give up. Aburame Ryoma quickly raised his palm. This kid is not a kind and timid person. Aburame Ryoma has seen it with his own eyes. This is a psychopath who takes killing lives as fun. What's more, it would be too aggrieved to die in the hands of this kid. I'm really offended. Senior Akihiro Kagura immediately showed a kind smile on her face. From now on, we will talk about our own things. I will call you Senior and you call me Kagura-sama. Aburame Ryoma didn't know how to complain in his heart. A newcomer wants to ride on his head on the first day? As a loser, it was hard for Ryoma Aburame to refute. This kid was willing to call him Senior, which meant he had some respect for him. Akihiro Kagura looked at the silent Ryoma Aburame and asked with a smile, Senior, I respect you so much, you don't even want to call me Kagura-sama. This. Ryoma Aburame's face was a little embarrassed. This violates the will of the root. The will of the root. Akihiro Kagura shook his head slowly. The boy's smile seemed innocent. The will of the root doesn't matter to me. The will of Lord Danzo is the most important. This kid is really sensible. Ryoma Aburame had to admit that this kid actually grasped the point. But Aburame Ryoma still felt something was not right and explained, the will of Lord Danzo is the will of the root. The will of the root. The will of the root is just an extension of Lord Danzo's will. Akihiro Kagura interrupted Aburame Ryoma and retorted, the will of Lord Danzo is the will of the root, but the will of the root may not be the will of Lord Danzo. According to what you said, we obey the orders of Lord Danzo. Does Lord Danzo have to obey the orders of our root? You are right. Aburame Ryoma felt that his brain was not enough and wanted to prove his point, but our root and Lord Danzo are one. Akihiro Kagura looked at Aburame Ryoma dissatisfiedly and asked, we are not one with Lord Danzo, we are just Lord Danzo's subordinates. We can sacrifice for Lord Danzo, but do we want Lord Danzo to sacrifice for us? Of course not. Aburame Ryoma shook his head quickly. Although Aburame Ryoma still felt something was wrong, he couldn't refute Akihiro Kagura's point of view. This little guy made a lot of sense. A feeling rose in Aburame Ryoma's heart again. How could this little guy be more loyal to Danzo than himself, a guard who had followed Danzo for many years? Okay, don't think about it. Akihiro Kagura waved his hand, glanced at the messy room, and said, take me to see Danzo first, and then help me arrange a room at night, and put a bed in it in advance. Okay. Aburame Ryoma agreed. This old member of the root organization thought that this little thing did not violate the principle. I slept too late last night. Second update. Chapter 9. The current situation of the ninja world. The base of the root organization. Shimura Danzo's office. As the assistant to the Hokage of Konoha and the top leader of the root organization, Shimura Danzo's official duties are quite busy. He receives intelligence scrolls from various channels every day. Based on the information summarized in these intelligence scrolls, Shimura Danzo needs to think about how to benefit himself or, rather, benefit Konoha. The Land of Rain is still in civil war. The leader of the Hidden Rain village, Hanzo Salamander, has been in seclusion. Humph, that bastard Hanzo Salamander, we helped him to encircle and suppress the Akatsuki organization back then, and he still refuses to abide by our alliance. News from the Land of Wind. The daimyo of the Land of Wind has cut funding for the Hidden Sand village again. Gaara, the one-tailed Jinchuriki of the Hidden Sand village, was assassinated and went berserk. He was suppressed by the 4th Kazakage, Raza, using magnetic release, gold sand. Humph, is the Hidden Sand village still dreaming of using the tailed beasts? News from the Land of Earth. Terrorist explosions often occur outside the Hidden Rock village. It is suspected that they were done by the students of the third Tsuchikage, Anoki. This woman, Yakashinono, can really help Konoha spy on a lot of information. But why does this woman want a photo of Yakashi Kabuto again? News from the Land of Lightning. Someone else claims that the fourth Raikage has taken away their secret technique passed down from generation to generation. The Hidden Cloud Village has always been ambitious. They wanted to seize Konoha's Byakugan in the past. We must find a way to suppress them. Let's try to instigate a conflict between them and the Hidden Rock Village. Water Country still no news. What on earth happened in Kirigakure? All the spies who wanted to sneak into Kirigakure disappeared. Are they planning some conspiracy? Shimura Danzo sat at his desk, flipping through all the external news with a gloomy face, and then looked at another stack of intelligence on the desk. This stack of intelligence was about the internal movements of Konoha village. Let's see what happened in the village during the 2 days I was away. What happened in the village? As an ambitious old man, Shimura Danzo must not only focus on the outside, but also send people to secretly monitor Konoha, clear out some unstable factors to Konoha, and try every means to maintain the superficial stability of the village. New semester opening ceremony of Ninja School 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hirozen gave a speech at the school. When Shimura Danzo looked at this news, his face suddenly became a little ugly, but he could only snort with contempt. Huh? That's not how the Hokage does it. Monkey guy still likes to waste time doing these useless things. This news is useless. This is what Shimura Danzo hates the most. It reminds him all the time that his old friend Sarutobi Hirozen is still working as the Hokage in the sun. However, Shimura Danzo has to keep an eye on Sarutobi Hirozen, hoping to find him doing something wrong, and preferably to drive him off the position of Hokage or try to kill him. Shimura Danzo flipped through the news of the opening ceremony carelessly and saw the information on the second sheet of paper, which was the list of new students for the ninja school. Hyuga Hinata, the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan of Urimshi no Inuzuka Kibanara Shikamaru of the Nara clan, Akimichi Chouji of the Akimichi clan, Yamanaka Ino of the Yamanaka clan, and this generation of Ino Shikacho are all here. Uchiha Fugaku's youngest son Uchiha Sasukumph. He actually named his youngest son after the monkey's father in order to please the monkey under normal circumstances. Shimura Danzo would not care about these children. Unfortunately, there is a child worth monitoring among the new students of this ninja school. Even though this child is only 6 years old now, the entire Konoha must be extremely vigilant and careful with him, as this child may explode into a crisis that destroys Konoha at any time. Uzumaki Naruto. Shimura Danzo slowly saw the name he cared about the most, and his eyes were a little gloomy. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki should not have sent him to school. Tailed beasts. The most terrifying creatures in the ninja world. There are a total of 9 tailed beasts in the ninja world. Sand Village, 1 tail. Cloud Village, 2 tails, 8 tails. Mist Village, 3 tails, 6 tails. Rock Village, 4 tails, 5 tails. Konoha Village, 9 tails. A small village called Takigakure Village has 7 tails. According to the number of tails of the tailed beasts, the more tails there are, the greater the amount of chakra of the tailed beasts, and people often like to use this to judge the strength of the tailed beasts. The tailed beasts are born with terrifying chakra and powerful strength. Once the ninja village uses the tailed beasts to participate in the war, it can immediately change the situation of a war. However, the tailed beasts are naturally irritable and will never be easily used by humans. In order to use the tailed beasts to enhance their national strength, the major countries in the ninja world creatively sealed the tailed beasts into the human body and created the tailed beasts Jinchuriki who could borrow the chakra of the tailed beasts. During the Ninja World War, most of the tailed beasts Jinchuriki became human weapons in the Ninja World War, and the ninja villages of other countries often used the tailed beasts to decide the outcome of the battlefield. Only Konoha has never used the 9 tails, because the 9 tails is the most powerful tailed beast in the ninja world, and Konoha dare not use the power of the 9 tails, and even protects the 9 tails Jinchuriki. Until 6 years ago, a 9 tails rebellion broke out in Konoha village. The 9 tails suddenly broke away from the seal of the 9 tails Jinchuriki and ran away, causing the sacrifice of Konoha's 4th Hokage and a large number of elite ninjas, causing Konoha to suffer heavy losses in this turmoil. Since then, Konoha has been quite an internal and external troubles. Fortunately, in order to protect Konoha, the 4th Hokage resealed the 9 tails and a child named Uzumaki Naruto before his death, so that Konoha would not lose the 9 tails. However, This also caused Konoha to fall into an awkward situation. They had the strongest tailed beast in their hands, but they could not use it. They even had to find a way to prevent the nine-tailed Jinchuriki from having problems. In order to prevent the nine-tailed rebellion from happening again, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo almost racked their brains. After all the efforts were fruitless, Shimura Danzo proposed not to protect the identity of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki anymore, to prevent the nine-tailed Jinchuriki from being too fragile, but to use the experience of other ninja villages in cultivating Jinchuriki, and perhaps there would be a chance for Konoha to get a nine-tailed Jinchuriki that could be used. Let Uzumaki Naruto, a child, suffer a miserable childhood like the tailed beast Jinchuriki of other villages since he was a child, and let this child know that he is a monster in the eyes of others. As long as this child is forced to get used to a miserable life since he was a child, he will be able to remain calm no matter what happens in the future, and the tailed beast in his body will be prevented from getting out of control. However, this is also a bit dangerous. In order to prevent this child named Uzumaki Naruto from having an emotional breakdown during his growth, which would cause problems with the nine tails in his body, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen often appeared at critical moments to comfort the child and encourage him to face the tragic life bravely. If you give a person warmth when he is in the dark, this warmth will be like a ball of fire, encouraging this person to face the darkness with a torch in hand. On the other hand, and most importantly, the third Hokage strengthened the Jinchuriki seal on the child Uzumaki Naruto in the first time when the nine tails might get out of control, so as to prevent the nine tails from getting out of control and running wild. Theoretically, this is not fair to a child. However, the third Hokage, who had seen how cruel war was, did not think this was unfair, and even thought that Uzumaki Naruto was already a very lucky child. Timeline. I followed the major events summarized by myself in the anime and comics, which is the same as the timeline of the book behind the scenes. I remember that the plot began in the 60th year of Konoha. In this book, Akihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi are the same age, 4 years older than Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. Chapter 10. From today on, you will be my personal bodyguard. The rules of the ninja world are so cruel. Even a child is a tool of the ninja. During the Ninja World War, various ninja villages even sent 6-year-old children to the battlefield for victory in the war. This situation is not uncommon. The only thing that is a bit conscienceless is that Uzumaki Naruto's parents are heroes. Uzumaki Naruto's father is Konoha's 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze, and his mother is Konoha's previous Nine Tails Jinchuriki Kushina Uzumaki. During the Nine Tails Rebellion, the couple sacrificed themselves to protect Konoha. The couple may think that the village will take care of their orphans. After all, Namikaze Minato is the 4th Hokage, and has always been close to the 3rd Hokage, and has many comrades in the village over the years. The couple may think that Konoha will protect the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. After all, Uzumaki Kushina is also the previous Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Konoha village has always protected Uzumaki Kushina well, and Uzumaki Kushina has hardly encountered any discrimination or exclusion. In any case, they are all dead. There is only one child named Uzumaki Naruto, facing this world alone, facing the dangers that may come at any time in this world. Nine-tailed Jinchuriki, the most vicious tailed beast in the world. It is also the most powerful war weapon in the world. Shimura Danzo put down the list of new students in his hand, and said to himself in a cold voice, if wood release can suppress the nine-tailed, we can implement the real nine-tailed Jinchuriki training plan and make the nine-tailed Jinchuriki the sharpest weapon of Konoha. Shimura Danzo's ideal is very simple. First, he will become a Hokage and reach the peak of his life. Second, Konoha will unify the ninja world and reach the top of the ninja world. It's a pity. Neither of these two ideals has been realized, and even because Shimura Danzo is getting older and older, these two ideals are about to become dreams. However, great ideals always have to take the first step. Shimura Danzo thought of the Akihara Kagura he brought back from Orochimaru, and his heart couldn't help but feel a little hot. As long as this child's wood release talent is strong enough, let him find an opportunity to kill Sarutobi Hiruzen and assist him to take the position of Hokage. Then use this child's wood release to sharpen the Nine Tails Jinchuriki into a war weapon. Use the power of the Nine Tails to launch the Ninja World War and unify the ninja world. Now it's time to take the first step towards my ideal. The first step is to test Akihara Kagura's wood release talent. Dong dong dong, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Shimura Danzo asked someone to come in. Yes, Danzo. Aburame Ryoma and Akihara Kagura walked in. Shimura Danzo looked up, but saw a bandage wrapped around Aburame Ryoma's shoulder, and frowned subconsciously. Ryoma, are you injured? This is. Aburame Ryoma hesitated and didn't know how to speak. I heard him. Akihara Kagura interrupted Aburame Ryoma and said, the room that Senior arranged for me was not comfortable. He helped me loosen my bones and I helped him bleed. Aburame Ryoma couldn't help but glance sideways. Shimura Danzo looked a little unhappy. Don't be greedy for temporary enjoyment. After Shimura Danzo scolded in a deep voice, he suddenly thought of something and asked abruptly, who won the conflict between you two in private? Senior helped me change to a more comfortable room. After Akihara Kagura finished speaking, she continued nonchalantly, it's just a minor injury. I won't die. I wanted to see Lord Danzo as soon as possible, but Senior insisted on getting it bandaged first. The corner of Aburame Ryoma's eye twitched. Is this kid talking human language? Although it is indeed more important to come to see Danzo-sama as soon as possible, there is no particularly important mission today. Besides, when they came, they also found bandages to bandage their wounds. There is nothing wrong with it anyway. Danzo Shimura felt something was not right. Theoretically, there was nothing wrong with Aburame Ryoma, but what Akihara Kagura said made sense. He refused to come to see him in advance just to bandage his wounds. Root members always risk their lives for missions. Aburame Ryoma has always been his bodyguard, and the missions he performed became easier and easier. Has he fallen to the point where he can't even tolerate a little injury? No. That's not the point. The point is that this little guy beat Aburame Ryoma. Even though Aburame Ryoma is not well known and is only good at sneaking in to steal information, he is also a veteran Konoha Jonin. How could he lose to little guy? Danzo Shimura's heart was a little rippled, and his eyes were fixed on the boy in front of him. When he stood up and wanted to say something, he suddenly stopped. Ryoma, go to the water country. Maybe you've been too comfortable staying by my side. So much so that you have forgotten that ninjas are not afraid of sacrifice. Danzo Shimura turned to look at Ryoma Aburame, and ordered in a deep voice, I remember that you are the best in infiltration and spying in the route. Go and check the information about the water country and find out what conspiracy is hidden in the Hidden Mist village. Yes, Lord Danzo. After accepting the task, Ryoma Aburame raised his head and wanted to explain to Danzo Shimura that he was not that kind of person at all. Danzo-sama. Akihara Kagura interrupted Ryoma Aburame and said, why not give this task to me? I haven't done anything for Danzo-sama yet. No need. Shimura Danzo shook his head and continued, this task is too dangerous and too early for you. The wood release bloodline in you is more important than anyone else's. Since you can defeat Ryoma, it proves that your strength has surpassed him. During this period, you will stay with me as my close follower, and I will also teach you the inheritance of the root's will. While talking, Shimura Danzo slowly stood up with the help of the table. Come with me to the practice field, I will teach you a new wood release ninjutsu. Yes. Akihara Kagura hurriedly followed. Ryoma Aburame stood at the door, looking at the backs of the old and the young leaving, with a confused look in his eyes. Did something happen in the meantime? Forget it. Ryoma Aburame no longer thought about it. As long as he returns from the mission in the Land of Water, time will prove everything, and Master Danzo will see clearly that he has never been the kind of ninja who is afraid of death. On the covered bridge, the young man followed the old man with a calm and focused look. Even if the ninjas of the route always obey the will of Shimura Danzo, the two are not the same person after all, and they will go astray because of the difference in words. It was destined to be like this from the beginning. Because Shimura Danzo never completely trusts the members of the route, otherwise he would not have planted the tongue root disaster seal on the tongues of the route members to prevent them from leaking information. New book, please collect it. Chapter 11, Prove to Lord Danzo how loyal I am to him. The training ground of the route. Akihara Kagura looked at Shimura Danzo carefully. This superior wanted to teach him a new wood release ninjutsu, and was introducing the origin of the technique in a serious manner. This ninjutsu is called wood release, tree world birth, which originated from the first Hokage of Konoha, Senju Hashirama, and requires a huge amount of chakra. In theory, this kind of wood release ninjutsu does not need to be preserved, because the bloodline of the first Hokage Senju Hashirama was not passed down. However, due to the request of the second Hokage Senju Tobirama, the first Hokage Senju Hashirama still recorded all his wood release secrets in Konoha's sealed book, waiting for Konoha to have a new wood release bloodline. Shimura Danzo had naturally read the sealed book. Unfortunately, since Shimura Danzo was not a Hokage, the sealed book could only be kept by successive Hokage, and Shimura Danzo could only record the wood release techniques in it. Look carefully. Shimura Danzo opened his hands, loosened his 5 fingers, and then slowly closed his hands and made a C-hand seal. This technique only needs a C-seal to directly activate the chakra in the body. Wood release, Tree World Advent. Shimura Danzo suddenly shouted. Akihara Kagura was startled by Shimura Danzo's voice. However, nothing happened. The training ground became silent again. A crow flew slowly in the sky. Shimura Danzo had neither wood release bloodline nor a huge amount of chakra, so naturally nothing would happen. Okay. Shimura Danzo didn't feel embarrassed at all, and became calm again. I have already taught you this ninjutsu, come and try it. Akihara Kagura's eyelids trembled. This teaching method is a bit too abstract. Why does this person pretend to make a hand seal and tell him that this ninjutsu is called wood release, tree world birth, and think he can release the ninjutsu of the ninja god? Okay, you already know that 1 + 1 = 2, now let's prove the Goldbach conjecture, one of the 3 major conjectures in the world. What a joke. Unless this person can cheat. System prompt, Ninja Professor, characteristics are activated, the host has wood release bloodline in his body, and the chakra amount has reached SSS level. The wood release, tree world birth, that is being learned conforms to the theory of ninjutsu, and wood release, tree world birth, has been successfully learned. System prompt, you have a new skill, wood release, tree world birth, wood release, tree world birth, wood release Kakai Genkai secret technique. The caster uses the chakra in his body as the source of life, quickly grows trees from the ground, and instantly transforms the environment into a forest. All trees in the forest can be controlled by the caster to attack the enemy, and it is easier to cast other wood release ninjutsu with the help of the forest. Akihara Kagura imitated Shimura Danzo, slowly closed his palms, the chakra in his body burst out, and a childish low shout came out of the boy's throat. Wood release, tree world birth. The grass on the ground of the training ground trembled. Thick tree roots suddenly drilled out from the ground, and the roots quickly grew into towering trees, turning the entire training ground into an ancient forest. This Shimura Danzo couldn't help but widen his eyes. Even if Shimura Danzo had hope for Akihara Kagura in his heart, he didn't think that this little guy could learn this powerful ninjutsu so quickly. What a joke. Orochimaru didn't lie this time. This little guy's talent for wood release, just from the tree world descent technique, can be seen to be more powerful than the previous wood release bloodline successor. Shimura Danzo's heart was warmed, and his hope of seizing the position of Hokage was rekindled. Danzo-sama. Akihara Kagura turned around and looked at the old man with a shocked face, seeming a little uneasy. Are you upset because of me destroying the training ground? Have I caused any trouble and was found to have destroyed the training ground? Will it cause trouble for you? No. Shimura Danzo shook his head quickly, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He rarely spoke and praised his subordinates. You did a good job. It's just a training ground. From today on, this is your training ground. That's not what I want to ask. Akihara Kagura couldn't help but want to complain in his heart. He made such a big fuss, not just for Shimura Danzo. In addition to letting this new boss realize his talent, he also wanted to see if he could bring some trouble to Danzo. After all, he was using such a powerful chakra in Konoha village. I wonder if the third Hokage would find out? Can he attract the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen? After all, a wood-released ninja with such a powerful talent should cause some new conflicts between Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo, the two old friends? Shimura Danzo also thought of this. This child just burst out such a powerful chakra, won't it be discovered by Monkey? Shimura Danzo's expression was not very good, and he seemed to be gritting his teeth. He must guard against Sarutobi Hiruzen, the old bastard monkey always steals his things. Immediately set up a sealing barrier in this training ground to prevent Sarutobi Hiruzen from discovering that he has obtained another wood-release ninja, and even an unexpected genius wood-release ninja. In addition, Shimura Danzo's eyes also fell on Akihara Kagura. This child will become very strong in the future. He will definitely become the most useful tool of Konoha in the future. Now this child listens to me very much and is very close to me. He is even more loyal and pure than Aburame Ryoma. A 10-year-old child does not have any complicated thoughts. At this age, it is easy to be indoctrinated. If it is just a curse, it can control people's behavior, but it cannot control people's thoughts. I must think of a way to make this child loyal to me forever. In the root training ground, the boy and the old man have different thoughts. Akihara Kagura secretly activated the characteristic of darkness of the ninja world. As long as she needs information, the characteristic of darkness of the ninja world will store the relevant information in the form of video in her brain. A picture appeared inside Akihara Kagura's brain. Akihara Kagura wants to find out some information about the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. He wants to see what the Hokage is doing. Has he discovered that there is a genius waiting for him to compete at the root training ground? Has he discovered that Danzo has started to plot again? Is he interested in causing trouble for Danzo? As Danzo's subordinate, he must find a way to create more trouble for Danzo. Only when Danzo encounters a lot of trouble, will he have the opportunity to prove to Danzo how loyal he is to him. Good morning. My glasses are broken. I'll go get a pair of glasses first. Chapter 12. Let that child take part in the Chunin exam. Hokage's office. The dome-shaped building in the center of the entire Konoha village. An Anbu ninja knelt on one knee on the ground, speaking as if in a mechanical voice, reporting the latest news to the old man sitting at the desk. Hokage-sama, news came from the second security zone that there was a violent tremor near the number 9 training ground. Yes. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen wore a bamboo hat, smoked his pipe nonchalantly, and looked down at a stack of papers in his hand. He didn't seem to care much about the problems reported by the Anbu, and said casually, I remember that the number 9 training ground is the training ground assigned to the Anbu training class. Anbu training class. The Anbu training class nominally belongs to the Anbu. However, most of the Anbu personnel know that the Anbu training class is the root organization of Shimura Danzo, and in fact the root organization has far exceeded the establishment of a class. Yes. The Anbu ninja responded and continued to report. From a distance, a forest appeared in the number 9 training ground in a short period of time. Oh. The third Hokage still held his pipe in his mouth and carefully flipped through the stack of papers in his hand. This situation sounds familiar. Yes. The Anbu ninja quickly lowered his head and explained for his superior, Tenzo, who was transferred to the Anbu by the Hokage not long ago, released a wood escape ninjutsu called Wood Release, Sea of Trees, in the Anbu training ground, creating a sea of trees in a short period of time. It is initially suspected that someone used the same wood escape ninjutsu in the number 9 training ground. Well, there is no need to investigate in detail. The third Hokage nodded, still not caring about it, still looking at the stack of papers in his hand. I knew about this a long time ago. There is another wood escape bloodline ninja in the Anbu training class. Danzo Kajisuke has already told me. Obviously. The third Hokage lied to his subordinates. After all, I had recently mobilized the Anbu to surround the route, and snatched a wood-style bloodline ninja from Danzo with a menacing attitude ready to suppress the route. Now that I know that Danzo has another wood-style bloodline ninja under his command, will I dispatch the Anbu to surround the route and snatch the second wood-style bloodline ninja? This kind of thing can only happen once, not again. Especially since it has been a short time since the last time. If I do the same thing to Shimura Danzo in a short period of time, it will inevitably make Danzo feel dissatisfied and resentful. If the wood-style bloodline ninja has good talent, I can find an opportunity to transfer him to the Anbu in the future, and there is no need to anger Danzo at this time. Konoha needs Danzo to deal with some troubles that cannot be seen in the light. The ninja world is still not peaceful. The big ninja villages are still fighting overtly and covertly. The secret actions of spying, infiltrating, assassinating and robbing have never stopped. Konoha is also not stable. The Uchiha clan, the strongest and most powerful ninja clan, is ambitious. The contradictions with the village are intensifying and conflicts may break out at any time. All these things need Shimura Danzo to help deal with. But now we must give Danzo a warning. Let Danzo know that he has been watching his every move. Now we must let Danzo put away the thoughts that he shouldn't have. He can't have the courage to assassinate the Hokage a few years ago just because he has another wood-released ninja under his command. That old friend is narrow-minded but timid. Once he is caught with a flaw, he will be scared and crawl into the sewer. Okay. There is no need to talk about this. The most important thing now is the Chunin exam in the second half of the year in the village. The third-generation Hokage is still flipping through the stack of papers in his hand. It is the registration form for the Chunin exam in the second half of the year in Konoha village. This is the most important assessment for the entire Konoha village. The significance of the Chunin exam is to select talents. There are a large number of Shinin in Konoha village. These Shinin are the basis for maintaining the village to accept low-level ninja commissions and are an important contributor to Konoha's prosperity. However, they can only rely on accepting C-level and D-level ninja commissions to make a living. However, the nature of Chunin is different. If a Shinin performs well in the Chunin exam, he will be promoted to Chunin by the village, which is equivalent to having a fixed job to choose from. Chunin can perform B-level combat commissions with lucrative income, or work in certain departments of the village, and even have the opportunity to enter the Anbu. The Chunin exam is the highest level unified exam in Konoha. Konoha holds a total of 2 Chunin exams every year, and occasionally co-hosts with other small and medium-sized ninja villages. Without exception, the pass rate of each Chunin exam is very low. Since the end of the Third Ninja World War, the ninja world has entered a peaceful era, and the Chunin exam has a new meaning. It has become an important occasion to show off Konoha's national strength. Konoha village's financial income mainly comes from the Fire Country Daimyo and ninja commissions. The Fire Country Daimyo often comes to watch the Chunin exams to decide whether to increase or decrease financial support. Daimyo or nobles from other small countries will also come to judge whether to give high-level commissions to Konoha. In addition, the most important thing is, of course, to deter and attract Konoha's allies. Generally speaking, the small ninja villages are allies that the 5 major ninja villages strive for. The small ninja villages often compare the national strength of the major ninja villages and choose to join the more powerful ninja village. The Chunin exam is undoubtedly the occasion in peacetime when the small ninja villages can most directly observe Konoha's national strength, which also forces Konoha to pay more attention to the Chunin exams. Are all the registration forms for the Chunin exam here? The third Hokage slowly put down the pipe beside his mouth and suddenly asked, did that little guy Uchiha Itachi apply to take the Chunin exam alone? Yes. The Anbu ninja nodded and explained, according to the information we have found, 2 years ago, Uchiha Itachi's teammates were all killed in a mission. Since then, Uchiha Itachi has never participated in forming a team again, and almost never participated in the execution of commissions. Naturally, he has no teammates to take the Chunin exam together. However, in the past 2 years, Uchiha Itachi has been training with Uchiha Shisu, and even assisted Uchiha Shisu in completing a collaborative assessment mission. Even if that assessment mission was interrupted, we can still judge that he is an excellent ninja and capable of completing the Chunin exam alone. The only thing that is not fair is the 3-person cooperative battle assessment. There have been many precedents in the village. For example, when the Anbu captain Kakashi Hatake's teammates, Uchiha Obito and Nahara Rin, took part in the Chunin exam, due to the lack of teammates for the 3-person cooperative battle test, even though Kakashi Hatake from the same class had already become a Chunin, he was still judged to be able to assist 2 teammates in taking part in the last 3-person cooperative battle test of the Chunin exam. However, Itachi Uchiha's teammate was only Shisu Uchiha. It would be a bit too much to let the famous Shisa Flicker, a Jonin, participate in the Chunin exam. Ho. The third Hokage interrupted his subordinates with a laugh and waved his hand, saying, that would be too much of bullying for these kids, and would make this exam a joke. Yes. The Anbu ninja nodded, looked up at the old man, and continued, however, Itachi Uchiha does have the ability to pass all the exams alone. Shisa Uchiha mentioned that Itachi Uchiha has excellent results in every training item. Okay, that's it for this time. The third Hokage nodded, and said as if unintentionally, Kakashi, Tenzo, you go to the Anbu training class and submit an application form. Yes, Hokage. 2 masked figures quickly stepped forward. The third Hokage looked at one of them, his eyes becoming a little sharp. Go tell Danzo to let the kid with wood release to take part in the Chunin exam. Please collect it. I should have a chance to try it out tomorrow. Chapter 13, Lord Danzo, can I kill them? The third Hokage was a politician in the ninja world. From the time the third Hokage got the intelligence about a wood release ninja to how to make the most of this intelligence, it didn't even take more than 20 minutes. First, Uchiha Itachi took part in the Chunin exam alone. In terms of emotion and reason, the appearance of such a young genius is a blessing for Konoha. Unfortunately, Uchiha Itachi was born in the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan is currently the biggest unstable factor in Konoha and has always been alienated from the village. If this 10-year-old genius ninja passes the exam alone, It will undoubtedly make the already arrogant Uchiha clan even more arrogant, and will look down on other Konoha ninjas, and the conflict between the Uchiha clan and the village will become more serious. However, at this time, a wood-release bloodline ninja appeared in Konoha village. No matter how strong this wood-release bloodline ninja is now, it can finally make the Uchiha clan quiet for a while. After all, in the Warring States period, the first Hokage of Konoha, Senju Hashirama, defeated and subdued Uchiha Madara, the most powerful patriarch of the Uchiha clan, with a wood-style bloodline, and completely blocked the Uchiha clan's journey to dominate the ninja world in the Warring States period. The most clever thing is that this wood-style bloodline ninja happened to be a subordinate of Shimura Danzo. Uchiha Fugaku, the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, has always known that Shimura Danzo is the most hostile high-level person in the entire Konoha to Uchiha, and has been suppressing the development of Uchiha. 6 years ago, during the Nine Tails Rebellion, most areas of Konoha were destroyed. In front of many Konoha ninja clan leaders, Shimura Danzo relegated the Uchiha clan's residence to the edge of the village. Now, Shimura Danzo's subordinates suddenly have a wood-style bloodline ninja who may suppress the Uchiha clan, which will definitely put pressure on Uchiha Fugaku. As the supreme leader, the Hokage has room to mediate. The third Hokage is indeed the one who has ruled Konoha for the longest time. He's experienced and gentle in his actions. He can maximize his benefits without any harsh means. The person sent by the third Hokage to deliver the exam registration form alone contains a strong warning signal, because Tenzo is the previous wood-release blood successor of the Root Organization, and Kakashi is the one who led Tenzo to leave the Root Organization, and even made a big fuss in the Root Organization to rescue Tenzo. There is no doubt. Shimura Danzo hates these two people to the bone. However, it has not been long since the last incident of the ambush surrounding the Root Organization. The current Shimura Danzo dare not take action against the Hokage's messenger. He can only accept the warning from the third Hokage and be forced to accept the orders of the third Hokage. Go. The third Hokage arranged everything, waved his hand to let Kakashi and Tenzo go to the Root Organization to deliver things, and planned to pick up his pipe again to relax. The third Hokage glanced at the crystal ball on the table, as if he felt something in an instant, and suddenly raised his head and glanced around. The next moment, the old man himself couldn't help laughing. It seems that I am really old and my body is not very useful. I feel that Danzo is staring at me for some reason. In the training ground of the Root. System prompt, new work task, according to the requirements of the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, participate in the Chunin exam in the second half of Konoha. This part-time job system can actually accept part-time job tasks remotely. Sure enough. Any ninja in the Konoha system is nominally a subordinate of the third Hokage. The Hokage doesn't even know who he is, but he can ask himself to do things. However, the intuition of this Hokage is quite sharp. He is worthy of being a voyeur. No, it should be said that he is worthy of being an old ninja who has been through many battles. In the training ground of the Root Organization, the young boy Akihara Kagura was somewhat amazed at the sharpness of the third Hokage, and was somewhat amazed at the practicality of the darkness of the ninja world feature provided by the system. This feature is so useful. It can not only collect intelligence, but also will not expose oneself. Even if someone is really keenly aware of being spied on, they will only feel that they are being spied on by Danzo Shimura. Akihara Kagura couldn't help but glance at Danzo next to him, feeling a little sorry for him. He probably had to let his boss take a lot of blame in the future. But this is alright. If a boss can't take the blame for his subordinates, who would be willing to help him do things? Akihara Kagura looked at Danzo next to him. Danzo had taken so many blames in his life, so he certainly wouldn't care about taking the blame for his subordinates, right, Danzo? Shimura Danzo didn't know what his subordinates were thinking at all. He was still thinking about how to conceal the existence of Akihara Kagura, thinking about cultivating Akihara Kagura well and giving Sarutobi Hiruzen a big surprise in the future. Tomorrow I will teach you new ninjutsu. Shimura Danzo was still immersed in the joy of getting a powerful thug. He had planned to arrange Akihara Kagura's life well and find a way to make this child loyal to him forever. Yes, Danzo. Akihara Kagura nodded quickly. I hope that Lord Danzo will be in such a good mood in a while. This time didn't pass too long. Inside the base of the Root Organization, when Shimura Danzo came back with Akihara Kagura, he saw two Enbu ninjas who were stopped at the gate of the base. They were quite familiar people. Hatake Kakashi. Shimura Danzo saw one of the white-haired Enbu ninjas, and his face immediately became extremely cold. "How dare you come here?" However, when Shimura Danzo saw the other Anbu ninja, he became gloomy. "Huh? You dare to come here too?" Danzo-sama, this Anbu ninja was obviously an honest man. When he saw Shimura Danzo, he seemed to be ashamed and lowered his head. "I Danzo, we are here to convey Lord Hokage's order." Hatake Kakashi knew that it would be difficult for his teammates to face Shimura Danzo, so he quickly stopped in front of his teammates and said in a cold voice, "Lord Hokage ordered that the child with wood-release bloodline take part in the Chunin exam in the second half of the year." After Hatake Kakashi finished speaking, his eyes quickly moved and fell on the young man next to Shimura Danzo. "I think the Hokage is talking about this kid. He just made quite a commotion at the number 9 training ground." Shimura Danzo couldn't refute. The old man felt a little uneasy. Did that bastard Sarutobi Hiruzen want to take Akihara Kagura away again? This kid's talent is more terrifying than the traitor who changed his name to Tenzo next to him. How can he have the chance to turn over? Shimura Danzo wanted to kill Hatake Kakashi and Tenzo in front of him immediately, and then lead the root organization to the Hokage building to kill Sarutobi Hiruzen to vent his anger. However, rebellion is a bit difficult. The last time Sarutobi Hiruzen led a group of Anbu to surround the entire base of the root organization is still vivid in people's minds. One warrant can get rid of Shimura Danzo and the root organization. Hatake Kakashi took out a registration form that he had prepared long ago, stretched out his hand and handed it to the boy, and whispered, "This is your Chunin exam registration form." Akihara Kagura stared at Hatake Kakashi in silence. "Take it." Hatake Kakashi urged, and said indifferently, "You are ninja of Konoha, you must obey the orders of Hokage." "I will only obey the orders of Danzo." Akihara Kagura suddenly turned to look at Shimura Danzo, and asked, "Danzo, they make you unhappy, can I kill them?" "A little late, I fixed it a little." Chapter 14. The subordinate is so loyal that even Danzo himself is a little scared. Akihara Kagura is a very sensible person. Hatake Kakashi and Tenzo are coming with a menacing look, which obviously makes Shimura Danzo lose face and feel wronged, so he must stand up and say something. If your boss loses face in front of others, as a subordinate, you must not ignore it, and you must find a way to help your boss regain face. Only in this way can your boss be loyal to you. This is also the rule of the workplace. Hatake Kakashi's eyes condensed, watching Akihara Kagura saying something very seriously about wanting to kill people, and he couldn't help but feel an indescribable feeling in his heart. This kid has been controlled by Shimura Danzo. Shimura Danzo looked at Akihara Kagura with a touch of appreciation in his eyes, and he didn't care about Akihara Kagura's treasonous words about the Hokage. Whether it was the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen or the members of the Anbu, most of them knew that the root organization was Shimura Danzo's private armed forces, so it didn't matter if they said such things here. Just don't talk nonsense in the village in the future. Stop talking nonsense. Shimura Danzo gently scolded, and said with contempt, "Since the Hokage has ordered you to participate in the Chunin exam, then follow the Hokage's order and take the registration form from Kakashi." This familiar code name Hatake Kakashi and Tenzo were stunned. Huh? Akihara Kagura reached out and took the exam registration form from Hatake Kakashi, looked at the two people who were stunned, and asked curiously, "Is there anything wrong with my name?" After saying that, the boy seemed to remember something and added, "However, this is the name given to me by Danzo, and only Danzo can call me that." What a good boy. Shimura Danzo squinted his eyes and patted the boy's head. Although he felt that something was wrong, it didn't seem to be wrong. When a child said he was loyal to him, didn't he believe him? Moreover, when the child spoke these words, he sounded a little childish and naive, but the people present could hear the child's respect and love for Shimura Danzo. This child seemed to have been brainwashed too much by Danzo. Wait, did Monkey ask you to send only one registration form? Shimura Danzo remembered something, and suddenly looked at Hatake Kakashi, asking with his eyes, "I remember that the Chunin exam requires a team of 3 to participate. Which class does Monkey plan to put him in for the Chunin exam?" Sure enough. I knew that Monkey, that bastard, had bad intentions. The Chunin exam was all a cover-up, and the fundamental purpose was to take this child away from me. As long as Monkey put this child in a class in the name of the Chunin exam, would I be able to bring this child back in the future? We don't know what Lord Hokage means. Standing nearby, Kakashi Hatake shook his head and replied slowly, "If Lord Danzo has any questions, you can ask Lord Hokage." Humph. I'll ask. Danzo Shimura snorted coldly. Kagura Akihara couldn't help but glance at Kakashi Hatake. This guy is a little dishonest. How can he throw the problem to his boss? As a subordinate, you should take the initiative to solve problems for your boss. If the boss has no problems, then help the boss create problems. Lord Danzo. Kagura Akihara quickly created a new problem for his boss. If I am assigned to a class during the exam, and the teammates in that class are too weak and I don't like them, can I kill the teammates in that class first? Sure. Danzo Shimura had no psychological burden about this. After all, Danzo Shimura dreams of killing his old teammates. If this child kills the teammates arranged by Monkey during the Chunin exam, it means that this child is not sociable, and he can naturally bring the child back. Kakashi Hatake's eyes narrowed slightly. Although he knew that this kid couldn't know about his affairs and couldn't be mocking him, there was still a trace of pain in Kakashi Hatake's eyes. Killing your own teammates. How helpless must you be to have such a situation? A person who kills his own teammates with his own hands will never escape that kind of nightmare in his life. This kid made killing teammates sound so light. Has he been turned into a completely ruthless killing tool by Danzo Shimura? Okay. Kakashi Hatake didn't want to stay here anymore, and immediately said goodbye. Lord Danzo has accepted the order, so let's go back and report to Lord Hokage. No need to see you off. Danzo Shimura didn't move, and didn't even look at him. Goodbye. Akihara Kagura looked at the two people who left, and her childish voice echoed in the underground base of the Root organization. Next time we meet, don't be rude to Danzo, show some respect. Hatake, Kakashi and Tenzo remained silent and walked towards the exit on their own. When Hatake Kakashi was about to walk out with Tenzo, he suddenly stopped, turned his head and looked at the boy, and said as if unintentionally, this name, Danzo seems to have let other people use it to Kakashi-senpai. Tenzo stood by and didn't dare to speak. The Root base was silent. Hatake Kakashi is really a bad guy. Before leaving, a sentence this guy said casually made Akihara Kagura feel a little troubled. Should she get angry and act like a spoiled child with Danzo, or should she pretend not to hear it? It seems that neither is appropriate. The only suitable I've heard of it. The young Akihara Kagura looked at the two figures standing at the end of the corridor bridge, and his childish voice was still full of blood. The last guy named Gia betrayed Master Danzo. I will find a chance to kill the traitor. I am the only one. Hatake Kakashi was silent for a while, shook his head and said, there is no need, now that person is no longer Gia. Tenzo, let's go. Hatake Kakashi said no more, and jumped onto the exit. Tenzo turned his head to look at the old man and the young man, and flew up to follow. HMPH Danzo Shimura snorted coldly, and after seeing them leave, he said, remember, Gia, Hatake Kakashi is the culprit who lured the previous Gia to defect, and Tenzo is the traitor who betrayed the Root. What? Sir Danzo. I should have killed them just now. The young man widened his eyes, looking at the old man in disbelief, turned around and wanted to run towards the exit. I'm going to kill them. Stop. Danzo Shimura shouted at him, and said in a deep voice, don't be impulsive. When you meet them outside the village in the future, it is enough to find an opportunity to kill them secretly. In the village, you are not allowed to attack anyone without my order. Danzo Shimura finally realized that something was wrong. If it was in the past, I could have ridiculed Hatake Kakashi and Tenzo. Now if I dare to say a few more words, Akihara Kagura would probably take action on the spot after hearing what she just said, and that would cause a big mess. Fortunately, I didn't say it. Fortunately, I held the little guy back. This subordinate is too loyal, so that Danzo himself is a little scared. It's a little late. But it won't delay. Don't wait for the new book period, it will explode when it is put on the shelves, believe me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 I Am the Hokage. Akihara Kagura is a little bit abnormal. Shimura Danzo never thought that raising a child would be so difficult. After all, Shimura Danzo's way of raising children has always been to throw a group of mentally normal children together to raise them, let them grow up together, and then let them kill each other and transform into mentally abnormal killers. Now that he has encountered a mentally abnormal child, Shimura Danzo suddenly feels a little tricky, fearing that this child will cause trouble. But Shimura Danzo is not easy to blame. Because this child is protecting him everywhere. I want to go out for a while. Shimura Danzo thought for a while and decided to go to the Hokage building to test Sarutobi Hiruzen's attitude. He looked at Akihara Kagura. You rest at the base. Ah. The boy seemed a little surprised, and couldn't help but look up at the old man. Danzo, didn't you ask me to be your bodyguard? I will definitely protect your safety. Obey your orders. Shimura Danzo admired the loyalty of this child very much. However, the old man still rejected the boy's proposal with one sentence. Danzo Shimura knew that he would have a quarrel with Monkey in all likelihood if he went to the Hokage building. He was a little afraid that this kid would attack the Hokage on the spot on the Hokage building. Hokage building. Danzo Shimura hurried here, mainly to find out Sarutobi Hiruzen's desire for Akihara Kagura, so as to prepare in advance. If Sarutobi Hiruzen really wanted to take the opportunity of the Chunin exam to snatch Akihara Kagura away, Danzo Shimura would have to endure it. Of course. He would definitely have a good quarrel with him. However, Hiruzen Sarutobi knew his old friend very well. When he saw Danzo Shimura walk into the Hokage's office, he directly handed Danzo a list of people who would take the Chunin exam. What does this mean? Danzo Shimura took the list, glanced at it roughly, and landed on a person's name, Uchiha Itachi. Taking the Chunin exam alone. This name had been registered with Danzo Shimura for a long time. After all, Uchiha Itachi graduated early from the ninja school, and was considered the most talented child since the peacetime, and was undoubtedly the focus of attention. Especially Uchiha Itachi once clashed with a Root organization and easily defeated a member of the Root, which impressed Shimura Danzo. At that time, Uchiha Itachi was only 8 years old. Now the 10-year-old Uchiha Itachi has undoubtedly become even better. Danzo Shimura quickly calmed down and got into work mode. I've heard of this kid. It's not difficult for him to pass the exam alone with his strength. But this kid is an Uchiha. If he passes the Chunin exam alone, it will be unprecedented in Konoha. The Uchiha guys. Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen interrupted Danzo Shimura and slowly picked up his pipe. We can't harbor malice towards others just because of a surname. But we can't ignore the meaning behind this surname. Sarutobi Hiruzen never said anything clearly. He just walked to the window and looked at Konoha deeply. The village is becoming more and more uneasy. The Uchiha have more and more conflicts with the villagers, and the relationship with the village is becoming more and more tense. They should have been dealt with long ago. Danzo Shimura snorted coldly, disdaining his old friend's leniency. What you should do is to implement the teacher's will and completely clean up the evil Uchiha. Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice immediately became serious, and he said sternly, Uchiha is also a member of Konoha, and there are also some ninjas who carry out the will of fire. Because Jing died for too long, have you forgotten his name? Uchiha Jing. He was once their teammate, and even helped them escape danger many times in times of crisis. Everyone thinks he is an excellent Konoha ninja. Even the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama, who was once very hostile to the Uchiha clan, had to admit that Uchiha Jing was excellent and believed that he had transcended narrow tribalism. It's a pity. Uchiha Jing died young. Even though Uchiha Jing had died many years ago, his legacy is still affecting the Uchiha clan, and his descendants are as loyal to the village as he was. The current Uchiha's top master Uchiha Shisu is Jing's descendant. Like his ancestors, he strives to ease the relationship between the Uchiha clan and Konoha, and strives to spread the will of fire within the Uchiha clan. When Shimura Danzo heard Sarutobi Hiruzen mention his old friend's name, he suddenly fell silent. Even he could not forget the old friend who had saved him many times. After a long time, Shimura Danzo still did not choose to change his attitude. They are just a minority after all. You should have understood one thing a long time ago: the village could not afford the risk of the Uchiha starting a rebellion. Ignoring the danger of a wildfire just because a tiny flame can keep you warm is not a decision a Hokage should make. You have become weak, Hiruzen. You will regret it. Danzo, I am the Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head coldly, looked at his loyal assistant who seemed to be giving him serious advice, and said calmly, even if there is a little hope of resolving the conflict peacefully, you should not give up now. What you should do is to follow orders. What orders? Doesn't the Root still have a wood-release bloodline ninja? Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes became sharp, staring at his old friend closely, and said in a deep voice, don't worry, I'll just let him take part in a Chunin exam. I won't transfer him away from the root HMPH. Shimura Danzo snorted, but his face relaxed. Originally, Shimura Danzo was somewhat annoyed by Sarutobi Hiruzen's weak attitude towards Uchiha. Now that he knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen was also so weak in his attitude towards his private wood-release bloodline, in fact, this old friend was not bad when he was kind and soft-hearted. Shimura Danzo was sure that he could still keep Akihara Kagura, the wood-release bloodline, under his command. He was in a good mood and felt that the future was full of hope again. I know. Shimura Danzo was very satisfied with his trip and took the initiative to plan. I will teach him well and let him take part in the Chunin exam alone. I won't let Uchiha Itachi, that brat, stand out too much in the Chunin exam, and I can also make those Uchiha a little more honest. Just make your own arrangements. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't nod or shake his head, and didn't say anything more, as if he hadn't said anything just now. Then I'll leave first. Shimura Danzo was about to leave with his crutches. Wait a minute, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly stopped him and asked calmly, when did the child with the wood-release bloodline appear? Someone is still illegally conducting Hashirama cell transplant experiments in the village, or is it that guy or Chimaru? That's a child sent from the orphanage. Shimura Danzo's eyes widened involuntarily, but he still answered calmly, the child has awakened wood-release a long time ago, and I have kept him in the root base to train him. Oh. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to believe this, and sighed quietly, then teach that child well, teach that child to protect Konoha, and don't let that child go astray. The first update, there will be more later. Thank you all for your tips. Thanks to the fat guy for the tips, several more have been added to the new book list. Chapter 16 Akihara Kagura's New Life. Danzo Shimura looked back at the Hokage building. This Hokage building is Danzo's lifelong dream. The owner of this Hokage building can scare him into sweating just by saying something unintentionally, not because he is better than himself, but because he is the Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen finally reminded himself not to let that child go the wrong way. That old bastard is hinting at him. Danzo Shimura understood the hidden meaning. Sarutobi Hiruzen reminded him not to go the wrong way, and not to have any thoughts about the position of Hokage just because there is a wood-release bloodline ninja in the root organization. But how can a person give up his dream? As long as he becomes the owner of this Hokage building, a random order can change the fate of the entire Konoha and even the entire ninja world. Sooner or later Danzo Shimura turned away indignantly. Instead of continuing to look at the Hokage building to quench his thirst here, it is better to go back and teach Akihara Kagura well. Don't let that child go the way that child follows me. How could he go the wrong way? Hiruzen, everyone has his own path. Your path is not the only path. The base of the root organization. Akihara Kagura was still a little frustrated. Shimura Danzo did not allow her to go out and ordered her to rest in the root organization base. There was no system task. It seems that the system's work tasks are not so hasty. She still needs to explore it carefully. Or rest can't be considered work? Can't rest between work be considered working? Slacking off is obviously part of work. What's more, this is a rest required by the superior. However, a new opportunity came soon. Shimura Danzo returned to the base of the root organization and finally issued a formal order to Akihara Kagura, which also allowed Akihara Kagura to successfully trigger the system task. From today on, I will personally lead you in training to ensure that you can defeat that brat named Uchiha Itachi during the Chunin exam. Humph. That bratty caused me a little trouble. System task, new work task, according to Shimura Danzo's request, participate in Konoha's Chunin exam in the second half of the year and defeat Uchiha Itachi in the exam. One job can actually get 2 rewards? Akihara Kagura's face immediately became solemn. I will definitely do it. Akihara Kagura looked at Shimura Danzo and asked again, Danzo, can I kill people in the Chunin exam? Can I kill that guy named Uchiha Itachi? Shimura Danzo was a little speechless. This child's personality is too extreme. Uchiha Itachi is the son of Uchiha Fugaku, the patriarch of the Uchiha clan. He is the heir to the patriarch of the strongest ninja clan in Konoha. He has always been regarded as proud by Uchiha Fugaku, and even opened the Uchiha clan's bloodline limit Sharingan early. If Akihara Kagura can kill Uchiha Itachi, it will definitely cause dissatisfaction among many people, and may also intensify the conflict between Konoha and the Uchiha clan. But Sarutobi Hiruzen is a weak person. What if Sarutobi Hiruzen handed Akihara Kagura to Uchiha Fugaku to deal with him in order to calm Uchiha Fugaku's anger? That would be very bad. This kind of thing has happened before. A few years ago, The envoy of the Hidden Cloud Village came to Konoha, under the pretext of re-signing the armistice agreement, but secretly wanted to seize the Byakugan Kekkei Genkei of Konoha Village. The envoy of the Hidden Cloud Village sneaked into the Hyuga clan and wanted to kidnap the daughter of the Hyuga clan leader, but was discovered by the Hyuga clan leader Hyuga Hayashi. For such a thief who wanted to steal his own daughter, Hyuga Hayashi certainly would not show mercy, and killed the envoy of the Hidden Cloud Village on the spot with one palm. The Hidden Cloud Village refused to admit it, but instead turned the tables and forced Konoha to hand over the murderer who killed the envoy, otherwise they would start a war with Konoha again. Then the third-generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen agreed to this humiliating request, ordered the Hyuga clan to hand over the murderer who killed the Hidden Cloud Messenger, and sought peace at all costs. In the end, Hyuga Hayashi's twin brother Hyuga Hisashi took the blame for his brother's murder of the envoy and was forced to commit suicide. The murder of the Hidden Cloud Messenger ended in such a ridiculous humiliation. The lesson from the past is still there. According to Shimura Danzo's understanding of his old friend, once Akihara Kagura accidentally killed Uchiha Itachi, Sarutobi Hiruzen would most likely secretly hand over a child of the root organization in order to appease Uchiha Fugaku's anger. If this really happened, the always disobedient Uchiha would lose a genius, and the always disobedient root would also lose a genius. Sarutobi Hiruzen would not lose anything, so why wouldn't he do it? As for the question of whether Akihara Kagura could defeat Uchiha Itachi, Shimura Danzo suddenly realized that he seemed to have not thought about this question yet. Uchiha Itachi could also easily defeat the members of the root. Although Shimura Danzo is very confident in Akihara Kagura's wood-release talent, and one move of Tree World Descent is not something that ordinary ninjas can contend with, but Akihara Kagura has always been a child who has no brains, and it is easy for Uchiha to play with him in the palm of his hand. Never underestimate Uchiha Itachi. Shimura Danzo reminded him coldly, and then continued, the Chunin exam does not prohibit killing the enemy, but we can't kill casually either. After Shimura Danzo finished speaking, he couldn't help but frown. How could such a weak word come out of his mouth? Oh. Akihara Kagura also felt a little strange. In short, Shimura Danzo looked at Akihara Kagura and said in a deep voice, there is no need to kill Uchiha Itachi. That kid is still useful to us. Yes, I know. Akihara Kagura didn't care about these. Akihara Kagura has never been a bloodthirsty person. Every time Akihara Kagura took the initiative to ask to help Shimura Danzo kill people, whether he proposed to kill Hatake Kakashi or Uchiha Itachi, he was just saying it casually to please Shimura Danzo. Danzo definitely didn't dare to let him do it. If Shimura Danzo is really willing to calm down and think, he will realize that Akihara Kagura has been just talking at the base of the root organization, and has not actually done anything for him. However, even if Shimura Danzo calms down and thinks, according to the attitude of Akihara Kagura, he may be more afraid that Akihara Kagura will help him do something. There is one more thing. Remember your background. You are a child who grew up in Konoha. The director of the Konoha orphanage, Yakushi Nono, adopted you in his early years. It was me who brought you to the root and raised you. It was me who helped you conduct the Hashirama cell transplantation experiment when you were young. Completely forget the existence of Orochimaru. Akihara Kagura nodded silently, still insisting on her own personality. Danzo, can I kill the director of the orphanage? In the future, she will talk nonsense and reveal any flaws, so as to cause you any trouble. Don't always think about killing people. Now Yakushi Nono is still useful. Shimura Danzo feels something is wrong again. Here it comes. Test the waters tomorrow. I hope everyone will support it. Thanks to Lao Fen for the reward. Chapter 17. My name is Dao, Pharmacist Dao. Training ground number 9. Shimura Danzo was still full of confidence. However, Shimura Danzo soon realized a problem that was about to arise. He might encounter setbacks when teaching Akihara Kagura the wood-release ninjutsu. After all, most of the powerful wood-release ninjutsu that Shimura Danzo came into contact with were derived from the techniques written on the seal scroll by the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. But there was a major problem here. When the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, cast a ninjutsu, many ninjutsu mostly only needed to form the same Seihan seal, or even no seal at all. What should he do? It seemed that he had only provided Akihara Kagura with the name of a technique. Shimura Danzo was still very calm. Shimura Danzo still formed a Seihan seal very calmly. Danzo Shimura continued to teach Akihara Kagura calmly. This jutsu is also the wood-release technique of the first Hokage. It also only requires the formation of a sea-hand seal and the direct activation of the chakra in the body. Danzo Shimura continued to calmly explain the relevant records in the Book of Seals. The effect of this technique is to use the chakra in a body to transform the trees in the forest into a giant wooden dragon. Wood release, wood dragon technique. Danzo Shimura said the name of the technique in a deep voice. Akihiro Kagura felt unwell. What the hell is this? Is there any difference between this and when he taught himself, wood release, tree world advent? The same hand seal, the same teaching method, just a different name, so they taught two different ninjutsu? Perhaps Danzo Shimura felt a little embarrassed, and did not take the initiative to ask Akihiro Kagura whether she had learned it, but took the initiative to comfort the boy. It doesn't matter if you don't learn it right away. Shimura Danzo acted very calmly and said softly, this technique is more difficult than the tree world advent. You need to practice slowly by yourself. Yes. Akihiro Kagura hesitated and didn't know how to speak. This is not a question of whether the technique is difficult or not. Is there something wrong with your teaching method, Master Danzo? However, this weird teaching method is actually recognized by the system. System prompt, Ninja World Professor, feature activated, the host has wood-style bloodline in his body, the chakra amount reaches SSS level, and the wood-style, wood dragon technique, that is being learned is in line with the Ninja World theory, and the wood-style, wood dragon technique, has been learned successfully. System prompt, you have learned a new skill, wood-style, wood dragon technique, wood-style, wood dragon technique, wood-style, Kekai Genkai secret technique. The caster uses the chakra in his body as the source of life, transfers the chakra to the seeds of trees, and the dense trees form a huge wooden dragon covered with thorns, which can entangle the enemy. The binding force is very strong, and the enemy entangled by the wooden dragon will have their chakra absorbed. Although I have a learning plugin, it would not be a good idea to just say that I have learned it. After all, there are serious problems with Shimura Danzo's teaching method. If I can learn the wood dragon technique, it will definitely arouse Danzo's suspicion. I'll try my best. Akihiro Kagura raised his finger and asked softly, Danzo-sama, is there any difference in the way the chakra of the wood dragon technique and the tree world earth technique is activated? Danzo Shimura was silent and thought about how to answer. After all, he didn't have wood release Kekai, nor did he know these two would release ninjutsu. Akihiro Kagura seemed to feel that this problem was a bit embarrassing for his boss, and immediately began to think of ways to remedy it. The best way was undoubtedly to give his boss a way to solve the problem. Akihiro Kagura thought for less than 3 seconds, and immediately corrected his problem and gave his boss a way out. Danzo-sama, the wood dragon technique may be a little difficult for me. Are there any other wood release ninjutsu? Yes. Shimura Danzo seemed to have found a way out. Shimura Danzo immediately became confident again, and said slowly, then I will teach you another wood release ninjutsu, which was also created by the first Hokage. When Shimura Danzo said this, he subconsciously began to make hand seals according to the records in the sealing book he had read, and it was still the same sea hand seal. Shimura Danzo's fingers stiffened. Even Shimura Danzo felt that his teaching method was a bit excessive. Shimura Danzo withdrew his fingers indifferently and began to scold, practice well during this period. First learn the wood dragon technique that I will teach you, and then I will teach you new techniques. Akihiro Kagura's expression suddenly became strange. What a lonely teaching. He himself does not care about such an awkward teaching method. What is Shimura Danzo embarrassed about? After a night, Shimura Danzo's work suddenly became very busy. Before, Shimura Danzo said that he would personally lead Akihiro Kagura to practice and train, but now he began to shirk and let Akihiro Kagura practice ninjutsu by herself. After all, Shimura Danzo also knew that his teaching method was a bit outrageous. Shimura Danzo did not expect Akihiro Kagura to learn anything with his outrageous teaching method, but asked the members of the route to take turns to monitor him and not to be lazy. Shimura Danzo did not want to meet Akihiro Kagura for the time being, lest the child ask any more questions about wood release ninjutsu. Wait until the next time, I will read the Book of Seals again, and then answer the child's questions. This kind of boss avoiding subordinates is not good for Akihiro Kagura. If the boss and the subordinate do not meet, it is easy to have a crisis of trust. But this is an opportunity for Akihiro Kagura. Perhaps he can use the excuse that he cannot learn the wood dragon technique to ask Shimura Danzo to help find the sealed book. Of course, this situation is not friendly to the members of the route. Without Shimura Danzo, Akihara Kagura is lawless. The boy only obeys the orders of Danzo and does not allow other members of the root organization to call him by his name. Anyone who dares to call Akihara Kagura A will be hung on a tree. This has become a hard job that takes turns to suffer. Until a spy who had just returned to the root organization base to report was ordered by an old member to take over this hard job to go to the number 9 training ground and supervise ace training. Number 9 training ground. The ancient forest still stands on this land. There seems to be something strange shaking in this forest, as if people can feel the horror that can swallow people at any time. A young man wearing glasses walked into the forest cautiously. Whoosh! A branch suddenly popped out. The young man quickly turned and moved, trying to avoid the attack of the branch, and at the same time shouted loudly, I am here on orders. The attack of the branch paused. The next moment, countless branches and roots popped out. The young man was tied up in an instant and hung upside down on the tree. The young man walked out slowly, walked to his side calmly, stretched out his hand and grabbed his head, and asked, "Who told you to call me by the name given to me by Lord Danzo? Then what should I call you?" The young man with the glasses was a bit smooth. "Call me Lord Kagura." The boy didn't seem to care about the root span at all, and continued to ask, "What's your name? Why have I never seen you in the base?" "Cow." The young man with the glasses calmly said his full name. Yakushi Kabuto. First update. I have been thinking about how to make Kabuto appear. Chapter 18. I am also an adopted child. Yakushi Kabuto. This last name sounds familiar. Akihara Kagura said as she waved her hand. The big trees in this forest are all controlled by Akihara Kagura's chakra. The branches that bound a young man with the glasses slowly loosened and carefully placed the young man with the glasses on the ground. "Thank you." Yakushi Kabuto thanked him seriously, and then asked, "I remember that the roots should not be allowed to use their own names, only code names. That's what Danzo-sama can call me." Akihara Kagura interrupted him and said nonchalantly, "I guess it may be that Danzo-sama is old and can't remember so many names. Besides, didn't you use your own name too? We are different." Yakushi Kabuto shook his head slowly. He has been acting as a spy outside for many years, so he doesn't need to forget his name. He even has a special code name, and it is possible that someone will find out the clues. "Your name is Kabuto Yakushi, right? I remember there was an orphanage director named Yakushi Nono." Akihara Kagura controlled the tree to make a swing for him, sat on it leisurely, and began to ask knowingly, "What is the relationship between Yakushi Nono and you?" Director Kabuto Yakushi hesitated for a second, thinking that it was no big deal for Akihara Kagura to know such things, and explained, "Yakushi Nono is the director of the orphanage who adopted me back then." "That's quite a coincidence." Akihara Kagura nodded, and started to talk nonsense. "I was also adopted by Director Yakushi Nono, and you were also adopted by her, and raised by Danzo-sama." "Yes." Kabuto Yakushi slowly lowered his head. If being trained as a spy from childhood to adulthood and being ordered to wander around various countries to collect intelligence can also be considered as being raised, then is this boy who calls himself Kagura-sama also an orphan adopted by the director and forced by Danzo to be used as a tool? Is the director who has almost forgotten who adopted him now? Yes. Not everyone remembers their childhood. Especially for a cold-blooded organization like the Root. Kabuto Yakushi raised his palm and pushed the glasses on his nose. He has been able to live strong all this time because of this pair of glasses that have always been with him. This is a gift from the Dean, Nono Yakushi. For Kabuto Yakushi, the warmest days in his life were in the Konoha orphanage. He met the warmest person in his life, who treated him like a mother. His own name, his own life, everything comes from Dean Nono Yakushi. We were both adopted by Dean Yakushi Nono. Akihara Kagura seemed very satisfied with their meeting. After thinking for a while, he asked curiously, "We were all raised by Lord Danzo, but we have never met before. Because we have to perform our respective tasks." After answering, Kabuto Yakushi continued, "It is just a coincidence that we can meet this time. Maybe we will not have the chance to meet again in the future." "Yes." Akihara Kagura also sighed, and her expression was somewhat helpless. "Lord Danzo will also let me go on a mission soon." "Oh." Kabuto Yakushi subconsciously showed a look of surprise, and asked as if he didn't care, "Is there anything I can help with?" As a spy, Kabuto Yakushi subconsciously wanted to find out intelligence, especially since Akihara Kagura in front of him didn't seem to be an ordinary child. If I am not mistaken, This boy can actually use would-release bloodline ninjutsu? First, you have to take part in the Chunin exam. Akihara Kagura didn't care about the information she might leak, and even took the initiative to leak more information. After passing the Chunin exam, I will go out on a dangerous mission. After all, I have the power of wood release. Lord Danzo will definitely not let me perform some ordinary tasks. There is a high probability that I will die while performing the mission. Maybe I will never see you again in the future. After Akihara Kagura said this, she looked at Kabuto Yakashi. If you are still alive, when you see Dean Nono in the future, please help me tell the Dean that the happiest day was the day she adopted me and brought back to the orphanage. I have never forgotten it. Kabuto Yakashi fell silent. What the young man said was also what he wanted to say. I'm sorry. Akihara Kagura looked at Kabuto Yakashi, with a hint of loneliness in her expression. Since I was a child, I have been taught to carry out the will of the roots. I can't think about people in the past, I can't use my past name, and I can't even keep a photo of the Dean. I almost forgot what she looks like. It's okay, the Dean will definitely not blame you. Kabuto Yakashi took out a photo from his pocket and comforted him. I happen to have a photo of the Dean here, you can take a look. It was a photo wrapped in plastic paper. The plastic paper was a little worn, but the photo inside still looked brand new. It can be seen that the owner of this photo protected the photo very well. The photo showed a smiling blonde woman wearing glasses. It seemed that she had encountered something that made her happy. She smiled so hard that her eyes were almost bent and invisible. Thank you. Akihara Kagura slowly lowered her head. You're welcome. Kabuto Yakashi reached out and patted his shoulder, and said softly, it's a pity that I only have one photo. If you are not in a hurry, maybe I can make another one for you. Thank you. I'll give you a photo of mine when the time comes. Akihara Kagura lowered her head to thank Kabuto Yakashi, and whispered, if one day I die and you are still alive, remember to give my photo to the Dean. Akihara Kagura took a deep breath and continued, let her see what I look like when I grow up, and help me tell the Dean that I joined the route voluntarily. At least I can make everyone in the orphanage live a better life. I have never blamed her. She won't blame you. Kabuto Yakashi shook his head quickly. It seemed that these words were what he wanted to say again. He hurriedly defended the gentle and kind Dean like a mother. She will definitely not blame you. How could the Dean blame us? Kabuto Yakashi seemed to have remembered something. He took out a photo of himself from his pocket and handed it to Kagura Akihara. This is my photo. If one day I die while performing a mission and you are still alive, please tell the Dean for me. I know what you mean. Kagura Akihara quickly took his photo. Kabuto Yakashi felt something was strange. By the way, after Kagura Akihara put away the photo, he reminded, don't let other people know about this. The will of the root will not allow us to. A voice suddenly interrupted their communication. A root ninja walked into the forest. He glanced at Kagura Akihara who was sitting on the swing, and then at Kabuto Yakashi who was standing next to him. Lord Danzo, who allowed you to call him a? Kagura Akihara suddenly raised his finger, and countless vines and tree roots drilled out from the ground, tied up the root ninja and hung him on a tree. How many times have I told you, what should I call you? Lord Kagura? The root ninja shouted with some humiliation, and continued, Lord Danzo asked you and Kabuto to go to his office to see him immediately. Who knows if what you said is true? Akihara Kagura snorted coldly, then looked at the somewhat stunned Kabuto Yakashi. These guys always like to issue orders in the name of Lord Danzo. They must be forcing you to train with me, right? Don't be afraid. I'll go back and teach them a lesson for you. Kabuto Yakashi felt a little uneasy. Kabuto Yakashi thought about the root base and wondered why a group of root ninjas were shirking responsibility and didn't want to train with this boy. This boy doesn't seem to be having such a bad time in the root organization. Second update. Please collect it. Chapter 19. They promised to take good care of you. Kabuto Yakashi was a little confused. After all, he had never seen such an arrogant root ninja. Akihara Kagura was a little surprising. He just said that he had to obey the will of the root, but how come his actions seemed to not take the will of the root seriously at all? On the one hand, he said that he was forced to forget his name in the root organization, and on the other hand, because a root ninja called him by his code name instead of his name, he directly attacked his colleague. Lord Kagura? Kabuto Yakashi hesitated but still addressed him respectfully, and asked carefully, is your life in the root okay? It's okay. Akihara Kagura felt that he was doing okay. Akihara Kagura stayed in the root base for nearly half a month, and basically nothing went wrong, and he got along well with his colleagues. Even if Akihara Kagura made such a small mistake, most of the other root ninjas were not qualified to tell tales in front of Shimura Danzo, or it would be useless to tell tales to Shimura Danzo, and Danzo would not scold Akihara for such a small matter. After all, Akihara Kagura opened her mouth just for Danzo-sama. Of course, Akihara Kagura was doing okay. The other members were not doing so well. A few days ago, a root ninja finally filed a complaint, claiming that Akihara Kagura refused to obey the orders they conveyed, and her attitude when accepting the orders was extremely arrogant, and she even questioned the root members for conveying false orders. As a result, Akihara Kagura became even more arrogant. What if you conveyed the order in the name of Danzo-sama? I will only listen to Danzo-sama, and I must see Danzo-sama with my own eyes and hear the orders spoken by Danzo-sama in person. Danzo Shimura was indeed a little uncomfortable. However, most of the root members would not lie to Shimura Danzo, and they truthfully expressed to Akihara Kagura's attitude that he only wanted to be loyal to Shimura Danzo. Loyalty spoken from other people's mouths is obviously more credible than loyalty spoken by a person himself, which made Shimura Danzo feel that it was not that bad. Akihara Kagura was just a little stubborn, and his demands were not high. He just hoped that he could give orders to him personally. But if this child only listened to himself, it seemed that this could avoid the risk of this talented wood-release boy being deceived and betrayed by others, making him a sharp blade that belonged only to him. So Shimura Danzo gradually acquiesced to all this. Who would refuse someone who only wanted to be loyal to themselves? Let's go. Let's go see Lord Danzo. Akihara Kagura looked at the hung root ninja. If I knew you were lying, I would execute you immediately. How dare I forge Lord Danzo's order? The root ninja felt humiliated and annoyed. Never doubt the will of the root, and don't doubt our loyalty to Lord Danzo, kid. You are not the only one who is loyal to Lord Danzo. I know, but I still don't believe it. Akihara Kagura interrupted him and said nonchalantly, you are just a bunch of guys who can only annoy Lord Danzo. You only know how to report those trivial conflicts between us in front of Lord Danzo. You. The root ninja suddenly felt furious. All along, the root ninjas thought they had been very tolerant of this kid, and this kid was still constantly teasing their not very sensitive nerves. Kabuto Yakushi was stunned watching from the side. It seemed that this boy was an orphan who was forced to join the root organization just like himself, so why did he seem to be so arrogant towards his colleagues in the root organization? However, Kabuto Yakushi soon found out that he was still too young. The base of the root. When Kagura Akihara brought Kabuto Yakushi back, the two gatekeepers stationed at the entrance of the base turned their faces away coldly, as if they didn't want to pay attention to Kagura Akihara. Do you know him? Kagura Akihara stopped at the entrance and pointed at Kabuto Yakushi beside him. The two gatekeepers still didn't want to pay attention to him. Kagura Akihara didn't care about the attitudes of the two men, and continued nonchalantly, notice that no one is allowed to bully him in the future. Got it. The two gatekeepers still responded in a muffled voice. Oh. Kabuto Yakushi was a little overwhelmed, and whispered, actually, it can't be said that someone bullied me. I've been on a mission outside. You don't understand. Akihara Kagura looked like he knew everything, and slandered his colleagues. These guys just want to suppress and bully their colleagues. If you resist them, they will report you in front of Lord Danzo. They are all a bunch of villains. The two gatekeepers couldn't help but want to curse. What nonsense is this kid talking about? Isn't it the opposite? Who has been bullying whom all along? Can you find a few people in the entire root organization who have not been deliberately bullied by a little kid like you? It seems that they dare not bully you. Kabuto Yakushi looked at the two gatekeepers who were shaking with anger because of Akihara Kagura, and asked curiously, how did you make them dare not bully you? It's very simple. Akihara Kagura looked at the two gatekeepers, with a smug expression on his face. As long as you bully them first, they won't dare to bully you. What the hell is this method? Kabuto Yakushi felt unwell. However, Kagura Akihara's method seemed to work. Every root ninja they passed by would subconsciously avoid them. Do you know Kabuto? Kagura Akihara would take the initiative to provoke. In front of this group of root ninjas, he pretended that Kabuto Yakushi was his man. Come and take a look. Remember, don't bully him in the future. Kagura Akihara even grabbed a root ninja who didn't want to see them. Did you forget your ears in the dormitory? Can't you hear me? Take off your mask. Don't go too far, kid. The root ninja took off his mask. his face full of anger. What did you call me? Kagura Akihira's eyes lit up. The other party thought for less than a second and chose not to bother with the child. Lord Kagura, I must leave the base immediately to carry out the mission. Remember him well. Akihira Kagura pointed to Kabuto Yakushi next to him and ordered, when you meet him when you're on a mission in the future, please help me take care of him. I will take good care of him. The root ninja looked at Kabuto Yakushi and nodded, gritting his teeth. Kabuto Yakushi looked at the other party's expression and couldn't help but want to sigh in his heart. Although Kabuto Yakushi was very grateful to Akihira Kagura for wanting to take care of his feelings, he knew very well that Akihira Kagura's behavior would only cause him more trouble. How could he gain a foothold in the root organization? Originally he might just be bullied, but now he might be assassinated. Akihira Kagura didn't seem to understand all this, and just looked at Kabuto Yakushi with joy. Kabuto, they all promise that they will take good care of you when they meet you, and you will definitely live to see the dean. Kagura Kabuto Yakushi suddenly stopped, quietly looked at the seemingly innocent boy, reached out and pushed his glasses. Are you doing this on purpose? What is your purpose? What do I have any purpose, whether it's intentional or not? Akihira Kagura waved her hand at Kabuto Yakushi with disgust, and said nonchalantly, do you think you can do anything for me? I just want to thank you for helping me in the future. The first update. I'm finally going to officially start making up a tragic story. Chapter 20. Pharmacist Kabuto, how unfair this is. Akihira Kagura was telling the truth. In his past life, Akihira Kagura had a certain impression of Kabuto Yakushi. Kabuto Yakushi in the future is a very useful talent. His spying ability alone is better than many people, and he is probably only slightly worse than Akihira Kagura. In addition, Kabuto Yakushi's brain is also very smart and very good at learning knowledge. In the future, he can help with human experiments, improve various ninjutsu and forbidden techniques, and even help Akihira Kagura learn the most mysterious fairy technique in the ninja world. In short, this gentleman is a talent. What does the ninja world need most? Talent. In order to get closer to Kabuto Yakushi, Akihira Kagura made up a story about his orphanage in the number 9 training ground. He could only barely make Kabuto Yakushi have a good impression of him, but he couldn't make Kabuto Yakushi really trust him. The best way is of course a solid bond. What is the most important thing in the ninja world? It's a bond. As long as you can create a potentially solid bond with Kabuto Yakushi, you can make Kabuto Yakushi remember your existence, and you will have the opportunity to make him your own in the future. However, there is actually no connection between the two people. Therefore, Akihira Kagura at first tells that she was also born in Konoha orphanage, that she also misses the life in the orphanage, and that she also misses the director of the orphanage. These are all false. However, these false are the true feelings of Kabuto Yakushi. The person who really came from the orphanage is Kabuto Yakushi. The one who really misses the life in the orphanage is also Kabuto Yakushi. The one who really misses the director of the orphanage, Nono Yakushi, is also Kabuto Yakushi. And the one who really wants Nono Yakushi to see the photos of him when he grows up is also Kabuto Yakushi. Akihira Kagura's lies are just a warm prelude, making Kabuto Yakushi think that there are similarities between the two. Now, Akihira Kagura needs to use a tragic story to puncture the warm prelude and make Kabuto Yakushi believe that there is actually a bond between the two of them. As long as there is a bond between the two, there is a possibility that Kabuto Yakushi will help him in the future. After all, Akihira Kagura doesn't know any Kido Matsukami illusions that can change the other party's will, nor does she have the ability to monitor whether the other party will be loyal to her, let alone bury the curse seal into the other party's vital points, which is her low-level, dangerous and troublesome control method. Akihira Kagura is just a worker. If a worker wants to get more things, he can only use some superficial means and find ways to make more capable friends. Kagura Yakushi. Akihira Kagura looked at Kabuto Yakushi, who was full of vigilance, and smiled playfully. What do you think I want you to do? I don't know yet. Kabuto Yakushi frowned, thought for a while, and then replied, but I know one thing, when you saw me, it should not be the same as you said, because it is rare to meet someone from the same orphanage and be happy. When you first mentioned the name of Dean Nono, there was no expression of longing on your face. It was more like talking about someone you haven't seen for a long time. But I'm still very happy today. Because no one has mentioned the past for a long time. Because everything you said in the training ground is what I wanted to say. Maybe I have been suppressed in this organization for too long. Kabuto Yakashi adjusted his glasses and whispered, I miss the days in the orphanage more and more, and I miss the person who treated me like a mother more and more. When Kabuto Yakashi said this, he suddenly changed the subject, but you don't miss the days in the orphanage, and you don't miss Dean Nono. Really? Lord Kagura of the Root Organization. There was a firmness in Kabuto Yakashi's eyes. He believed in his intuition and experience brought by his years of spy career. You hate me and I hate Dean Nono. You said you wanted to take care of me, but you made me offend other people in the Root Organization like you, those combat ninjas that I cannot offend. You don't want me to stay in the Root Organization. You even want to use the people of the Root to kill me. Kabuto Yakashi felt that he seemed to have guessed some of the truth and asked softly, am I right? Lord Kagura? Pa. The boy couldn't help but pat his palms. The smile on his face became more and more, and he nodded and praised, well said, you guess it all. Not bad. This guy guessed it all wrong. This Kabuto Yakashi didn't even doubt the truth? Or did Kabuto Yakashi think he was not worth being deceived? Is this Kabuto Yakashi really smart? Well, everything was fake. Kabuto Yakashi could only guess the false results from the false direction. At this time, it was good enough to guess that he had just drawn up the tragic storyline. I don't quite understand. Kabuto Yakashi looked at the boy with a puzzled look in his eyes. You were also adopted by Dean Nono and lived in an orphanage in the village. There shouldn't be any hatred between us. Why not? Akihiro Kagura couldn't help but laugh happily. The boy slowly spread out his palms and said word by word, many great hatreds are often rooted in just a small thing, a sudden thought in a person. What do you mean? Kabuto Yakashi didn't quite understand. Jealousy. One of the original sins of the world. Akihiro Kagura slowly walked towards Kabuto Yakashi, and the smile on her face gradually became indifferent. If there is no comparison in this world, there will be no harm, and emotions such as jealousy will not be born. Jealousy. Yes, unprecedented jealousy. Akihiro Kagura walked closer to Kabuto Yakashi, and the boy's eyes gradually became cold. Why do you have the same surname as Dean Nono? Why does Dean Nono always care about you? We are obviously just adopted children, and I was here first. Because Kabuto Yakashi hesitated and gave the answer, when I was adopted by Dean Nono, I forgot all my memories, including my name and parents, so Dean Nono gave me her surname. Kabuto Yakashi remembered the woman who was as warm as a mother, and continued, has Dean Nono always been thinking about me? Yes. She has always been thinking about you. She even forgot that there was another child who was sent to the root base. Akihiro Kagura slowly turned around and walked towards the bridge step by step. I didn't want to hate her, nor did I want to hate you. I even didn't want you to enter the root. But I saw what she did for you. I saw that she had been asking about you in the root organization, but she never remembered me. She doesn't even know what kind of life I have been living here, or how I was bullied here as a child. Maybe she has forgotten me a long time ago. I began to hate her slowly, and I also hated you who was worried about me. I realized one thing, that I, who has implemented the will of the root, felt jealous. We both entered the root. We are exactly the same people. Kabuto Yakashi. How unfair this is. Second update. Chapter 21, Yakashi Kabuto, I'm even more jealous of you. When a person is sad, it can be seen. Akihiro Kagura talked about her story, and her expression looked very sad. At this moment, the boy did not look like a person who is plagued by jealousy and hatred, but simply looked like an abandoned child. Kabuto Yakashi remained silent. Kabuto Yakashi believed that his fate was already very rough. In order to get more funds for the orphanage and not to make Yakashi Nono too embarrassed, Kabuto Yakashi took the initiative to sacrifice himself and chose to join the root organization. He became a spy ninja who was in danger of losing his life every day and was always on the verge of death. However, compared to Akihiro Kagura, Kabuto Yakashi felt that he was so lucky. Because his sacrifice was worth it, Dean Yakashi Nono had always been concerned about him, and this concern even made another child with the same fate jealous. I don't know. Kabuto Yakashi lowered his head slightly, with a look of hesitation and uneasiness. In the past few years, I have never received any news from the dean, and I have not even met the dean. Kabuto Yakashi hesitated and thought for a while, as if he felt that he had to say an apology to the boy. I'm sorry, I didn't know this all along. This was like the pity of a superior to a subordinate. Kabuto Yakashi never thought of himself as a superior. But in front of this boy who was forgotten by Dean Yakashi Nono, Kabuto Yakashi felt like a lucky person who suddenly got a treasure for no reason, and the boy was a hard worker who struggled desperately to get the treasure but got nothing. This made Kabuto Yakashi feel like a thief. At this moment, Kabuto Yakashi felt a little guilty. Obviously, he had done nothing to let down Akihara Kagura, but because of Dean Yakashi Nono's excessive care for him, Kabuto Yakashi felt warm and happy in his heart, and also felt ashamed of this forgotten boy. Although he felt a little ashamed and sorry, Kabuto Yakashi felt really happy now. However, a person's happiness may be within easy reach, but it is not so easy to protect this happiness, and it often requires some hardships. You know nothing. Akihara Kagura showed a sarcastic smile at the corner of her mouth, as if she was looking at someone who knew nothing. What a coincidence that Dean Yakashi now also knows nothing. What? Kabuto Yakashi felt his brain was a little blank, and subconsciously asked, what do you mean? The dean doesn't know anything either, what does that mean? Kabuto. Akihara Kagura asked a fatal question. When you entered the root organization a few years ago, you were younger than I am now. However, you have been in the root organization for more than 4 years. You are 13 or 14 years old now, right? We all grow up very fast, and our appearance will also change compared to when we were young. Remember you just said, how long have you not seen Dean Yakashi now? Since I entered the root organization, Kabuto Yakashi felt vaguely that he and Dean Yakashi now were caught in a conspiracy. So Akihara Kagura looked at Kabuto Yakashi and asked in a persuasive way, do you want to guess how Dean Nono wanted to see you? Photos. Kabuto Yakashi's eyes turned cold, and he almost gritted his teeth to say the answer. Dean Nono must have asked for a photo of me when I grew up, but you asked them to give the dean a fake photo. Kabuto Yakashi is a very smart person. He immediately remembered what Akihara Kagura mentioned about photos in the number 9 training ground. In an instant, Kabuto Yakashi also figured out the conspiracy against him and Dean Nono. A photo of himself when he grew up could cause problems. You're really smart. You guessed it right again. Akihara Kagura looked at Kabuto Yakashi with admiration, and then corrected him. However, it wasn't me who gave the fake photo, it was Lord Danzo who gave the fake photo. I'm just a child. What can I do in the root organization? That's not necessarily true. Kabuto Yakashi shook his head and responded, all the ninjas in the root are afraid of you, which proves that Danzo Shimura must value you very much. He will not object to what you want to do. Because you are jealous of Dean Nono's concern, it's normal for you to let Danzo Shimura give the fake photos of me to Dean Nono. Tisk. Akihara Kagura sighed, and did not refute, and continued slowly, what you said is indeed right. Dean Nono does care about you very much. She has been asking for your photos and wants to know if you are safe and sound. Really? She always cares about you. But she never asks about me. In order to ensure that Dean Yakashi Nono can continue to provide intelligence to the root organization, Lord Danzo slowly replaced your photos with fake ones. The photos that Dean Yakashi Nono saw at the beginning were fakes, and she had no idea what you looked like. If it ended here, it would be fine. Only one fake is needed to allow Dean Yakashi Nono to continue to provide intelligence to the root organization. However, you, the real one, are still alive. Lord Danzo also sent you out to perform dangerous missions time and time again, hoping that you would sacrifice in the process of performing the missions, but you survived time and time again. You are so lucky. You successfully completed the missions time and time again. Finally, Lord Danzo recognized your talents and wanted to make you a spy who could serve the root organization forever, but found that he had to face a problem. If you want to continue to stay in the root organization, you and Dean Yakashi Nono will meet sooner or later, and at that time all the lies will be exposed. When Akihara Kagura said this, he suddenly said, this is not surprising. Since it is a lie, it will be exposed sooner or later. But Lord Danzo will not make mistakes. So he will definitely deal with his mistakes. So Kabuto Yakashi pushed his glasses on the bridge of his nose and whispered, you don't want me to see Dean Nono alive, or you don't want Dean Nono to see me alive. That's what Lord Danzo originally thought. Akihara Kagura hugged her arms inside. Lord Danzo prefers you, because he thinks Dean Nono has always been not loyal enough, so he has been thinking about when to kill Dean Nono. Kabuto Yakashi's body trembled a little. This uncontrollable panic of the most important thing in life swept over his whole body. Kabuto Yakashi's fingers dug into the flesh tightly. A layer of cold sweat slowly seeped out of his forehead. He felt as if he had guessed something. Why are you telling me all this? Do you want me to commit suicide now so that Dean Nono can survive? I thought so too. Akihara Kagura raised her eyebrows and continued nonchalantly, but I heard one thing, that Dean Nono has always wanted to make a deal with Lord Danzo. She can do anything for Lord Danzo to let you leave the Root organization in exchange for your liberation. Kabuto, I'm even more jealous of you. Why didn't she think of rescuing me? Why didn't she think of rescuing me when I was sent to the Root base and was sent to be used as human experimental material? First update. The beautiful process is often painful. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, The Insidious and Cruel Plan of Cannibalism. Kabuto Yakashi's heart was a little turbulent, because he had never thought that he would receive such gentle love. From the mouth of this young man whose expression was full of hatred and jealousy, Kabuto Yakashi had already obtained too much information. In his heart, he missed Dean Yakashi Nono, who took care of him like a mother and was willing to give up everything for him. However, now is not the time for emotional upheaval. The most important thing now is to find out the boy's revenge plan. Only by finding out Akihara Kagura's revenge plan can there be hope to resolve the crisis that he and Dean Yakashi Nono will soon face. According to the information that Kabuto Yakashi has, Danzo Shimura must want to kill Dean Nono, and the boy Akihara Kagura is just involved. It would be great if he could persuade this boy to give up those revenge plans and protect the Dean with him. Kabuto Yakashi frowned and thought while trying to test Kagura Akihara, "You have never met Dean Nono, right? Maybe you have been away from the orphanage for too long." Kabuto Yakashi seemed to have found a direction and said, "There is another possibility. Danzo Shimura secretly deceived Dean Nono and told him that you were dead a long time ago. Kagura, we are all children from the orphanage. We all understand Dean Nono's care for us. Dean Nono would never give up a child without reason. This guy has a point. If Kagura Akihara is really from the Konoha orphanage, he feels that what Kabuto Yakashi said is somewhat accurate. If he says a few more words, he will be instigated by Kabuto Yakashi. What a pity. Kagura Akihara does not want to play a villain who is persuaded by others. Kagura Akihara only wants to play a child who has gone astray and cannot turn back." "Shut up." Kagura Akihara's palm suddenly stretched out and strangled Kabuto Yakashi's neck. The young man's eyes suddenly became fierce. He pressed Kabuto Yakashi against the wall and whispered, "Kabuto Yakashi, don't be disrespectful to Lord Danzo, otherwise I will kill you now." The young man looked at Kabuto Yakashi, who was unable to resist in his hands, with contempt, and slowly let go of him. "HMPH, if I had known I should have killed you at the training ground just now." Cough 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 cough. Kabuto Yakashi lowered his head and coughed vigorously a few times, his eyes flickering slightly, and said, "Then why didn't you kill me? Danzo shouldn't blame you. That's too easy for you." A photo flashed at the fingertips of Akihara Kagura. The photo showed Kabuto Yakashi, and it was the one that Akihara Kagura snatched from her hands at the training ground. "Want to guess what I'm going to do? This is a photo of you, the real you." Unfortunately, Dean Yakashi Nono doesn't know who the person in the photo is. She only believes that the fake one is Kabuto Yakashi, so she will only think you are a stranger. Akihara Kagura spun the photo with her fingers, and said her plan nonchalantly, "I only need to give the photo to Dean Yakashi Nono and order her to kill the person in the photo in the name of Lord Danzo, and I will agree to let you leave the Root organization." Kabuto Yakashi's face changed. Akihara Kagura looked at Kabuto Yakashi's face, and the smile on her lips became more intense. "She will know all the truth after our most respected Dean Yakashi Nono kills you. She will know that the person she killed with her own hands is the real Kabuto Yakashi, the Kabuto Yakashi she has always cared about." Kabuto Yakashi's face turned pale. Everyone knows what a blow this kind of thing will cause to Yakashi Nono. Maybe after Yakashi Nono kills Kabuto Yakashi, it is also possible that she will commit suicide. This is a cruel conspiracy. In the memory of the previous life, Akihara Kagura remembered that this fratricide was planned by Shimura Danzo himself, and Shimura Danzo hoped that Kabuto Yakashi and Nono Yakashi would die together. Unfortunately, the plan went astray. Nono Yakashi did not recognize Kabuto Yakashi, and when he tried desperately to kill him, he was killed and seriously injured by Kabuto Yakashi. Kabuto Yakashi's extraordinary learning ability made his combat power far stronger than that of ordinary medical ninjas like Nono Yakashi. However, Kabuto Yakashi recognized his dean. When Kabuto Yakashi was desperately trying to save the dean did not recognize him because of the fake photo, but just treated him as a stranger, which immediately hit Kabuto Yakashi and made him think that his life was meaningless. Now Akihara Kagura told Kabuto Yakashi the truth about the fratricide in advance, and even mixed a little bit of his own role in the middle, creating a new important bond between himself, Kabuto Yakashi, and Nono Yakashi. In this way, he will have the opportunity to use Kabuto Yakashi in the future. It doesn't matter even if these lies are exposed. Just tell the truth. Akihara Kagura also saved Kabuto Yakashi and Nono Yakashi. According to the memory of the previous life, Kabuto Yakashi is not an ungrateful person. I've told you all my plans. Akihara Kagura patted Kabuto Yakashi's shoulder and continued with a smile. Letting a person kill the person she cares about the most will definitely make her feel pain, right? Tell me. Kabuto Yakashi clenched his teeth and stared at the boy in front of him angrily. You told me all this, aren't you afraid that your plan will fail? I can tell the dean the truth. It doesn't matter. Akihara Kagura spread out her hands, with a winning look in her hands. If you and Dean Yakashi now successfully recognize each other, she will definitely be very happy to see you, right? Then I will kill you with my own hands when she is happiest after you tell her all the truth. Anyway, I just want her to taste the pain. Akihara Kagura didn't care about these at all, and rarely told the truth. I only need the result I want, and it doesn't matter what the process leading to this result is. Kao Yakashi. When I knew you, your fate was already determined. Kabuto Yakashi slowly lowered his head. It has to be admitted that Akihara Kagura should have this confidence. According to Kabuto Yakashi's observation, all members of the entire route dared not speak under the threat of Akihara Kagura, proving that Akihara Kagura's strength should not be underestimated. Moreover, there is the mysterious wood-release bloodline limit. However, if the boy in front of him is confident that he can kill him, he and Dean Yakashi now may not have no chance of survival. Let's go. Let's go to see Lord Danzo first. Akihara Kagura took the lead in walking into the depths of the root organization's base, and warned casually, it's best not to talk too much in front of Lord Danzo, and don't show any disrespect in front of Lord Danzo, lest Lord Danzo let me kill you on the spot. Kabuto Yakashi hung his head and said nothing. Kabuto Yakashi certainly won't do anything unnecessary. Now Kabuto Yakashi knows very well that what he needs to do most is to keep a low profile and find a way to meet Dean Nanao as soon as possible and tell him the story of Akihara Kagura. If possible, Kabuto Yakashi hopes that Dean Nanao and Akihara Kagura, the abandoned child, can resolve the misunderstanding and increase their chances of survival in the future as much as possible. Second update. The pit is dug, and all that remains is to wait for the moment when the truth is revealed. Thanks to the big boss King Zedong Fenson for the reward. The list has moved up so much. Chapter 23. Why haven't you submitted your registration form yet? Deep inside the base of the root organization, Danzo Shimura was still busy in the office. When Danzo Shimura saw Kagura Akihara and Kabuto Yakashi coming in, he wanted to scold him immediately. I heard that you always drive away the people who practice with you. What a waste of time. Kagura Akihara shook his head. His face suddenly looked unhappy. The strength of those guys is too poor. The half-month of practice I spent with those guys is not as good as the half-hour of teaching me by Master Danzo. Danzo Shimura nodded complacently and continued, you will go to take part in the Chunin exam tomorrow, don't let me down. It starts so soon. Kagura Akihara took out a piece of paper from his arms and asked in surprise, I haven't submitted this application form for the Chunin exam yet. Will I submit it before the exam tomorrow? Huh? Danzo Shimura's face became a little strange, and he felt that he was going to tremble with anger at this young man. Why haven't you done such a trivial thing as submitting the application form? It should be submitted a week before the exam, why didn't you submit it? Akihara Kagura was silent for a while, and whispered, because Lord Danzo did not allow me to leave the root base and training ground, I don't know who to hand it over to. Danzo Shimura's anger disappeared immediately. The old man stretched out his hand helplessly and took the registration form from Akihara Kagura's hand. Give it to me, I will help you send it to the examiner of the Chunin exam. Encountering such a thing, Danzo Shimura could only help through the back door. By the way, Akihara Kagura quickly raised a new question, I am not familiar with the roads in the village. Lord Danzo, are you free to take me to the examination room tomorrow? Danzo Shimura really didn't want to show up when there were many people. The old man who only wanted to hide in the dark saw Kabuto Yakashi standing next to him, and his expression immediately became cold. Kabuto, I have a new task for you. Tomorrow you will take 8 to the examination room of the Chunin exam. Yes. Kabuto Yakashi lowered his head and agreed. Kabuto, why are you a little unhappy? The young man couldn't help but chuckle, and a wicked arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. I take good care of you, don't you want to accompany me? Or do you want to die? AKA. Shimura Danzo stopped Akihara Kagura's killing intention with a stern voice, and scolded, Kabuto is still useful to the root. You are not allowed to kill people without my order. I understand. Akihara Kagura agreed with a smile. Shimura Danzo was relieved and turned to look at Yakashi Kabuto. The old man continued to order with a cold face, after sending AKA to the examination room of the Chunin exam tomorrow, you will go to the land of Earth to find an opportunity and sneak into the hidden rock village to wait. Yes. Yakashi Kabuto could only accept this order. Okay, you go out and wait. Shimura Danzo waved his hand, indicating that Yakashi Kabuto should leave here. Only he and Akihara Kagura were left in the office, and the old man's eyes were suddenly full of hesitation. When Shimura Danzo talked about this, his face was slightly dull. How are you learning the wood dragon technique that I taught you before? If you can't learn it, you don't have to force yourself to learn the ninjutsu of the first Hokage. Shimura Danzo was actually a little angry. Because the old man thought that it was impossible for him to let Akihara Kagura learn the wood release ninjutsu of the first Hokage, Senju Hoshirama, through the abstract teaching method, he made a request to Sarutobi Hiruzen, hoping that he could read the sealing book written by the successive Hokage again. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen rejected Shimura Danzo's request. Shimura Danzo had reason to suspect that Sarutobi Hiruzen was worried that the child Akihara Kagura would become stronger and that the power of the root would threaten his position as Hokage. This made Shimura Danzo more difficult. If he wanted to become Hokage, he had to make the child Akihara Kagura stronger. If he wanted to make Akihara Kagura stronger, he had to get the sealing book. If he wanted to get the sealing book, he had to become Hokage. This entered a dead loop. Shimura Danzo could only temporarily give up the book of seals and pin his hopes on Akihara Kagura's talent, hoping that he could develop a powerful wood release ninjutsu by relying on his wood release bloodline Genkei. You can try to develop wood release ninjutsu yourself. When Shimura Danzo said this, he was like a teacher who was guiding the team. I have seen your talent for learning ninjutsu. The wood release ninjutsu you develop yourself may not be inferior to the wood release ninjutsu of the first Hokage. Yes, Danzo. Akihara Kagura nodded, hesitated for a moment, and then explained, however, I may have mastered a wood dragon technique, but I am not sure whether it was taught by Danzo, but the power of the technique is amazing enough. Oh. Shimura Danzo raised his eyes. Why didn't you tell me about this? Before Danzo Shimura opened his mouth to ask questions, Kagura Akihara seemed to understand his superior's suspicion and quickly added, a few days ago, I mastered the wood dragon technique and have been wanting to tell Danzo-sama. At this point, Kagura Akihara was a little unhappy, but those who practiced with me refused to let me see Danzo-sama. Danzo Shimura remained silent. Because what the group of root ninjas said was right, Danzo Shimura did not want to see him in order to avoid embarrassment. Who would have thought that this kid actually made achievements in his studies? Danzo Shimura avoided the topic and took the initiative to praise. Forget it, there is no need to bother with him, you can master the ninjutsu I taught you. Yes. Kagura Akihara nodded quickly, expressing her respect and admiration for Danzo Shimura as much as possible. As long as Danzo-sama can point me in a direction, I will work hard in that direction. No matter what ninjutsu it is, I can master it yet. Danzo Shimura's face immediately improved a lot. However, the old man thought about it and decided to avoid teaching wood release ninjutsu for the time being. In the future, when I have time, I will look through the sealed book left by the first Hokage, and I will teach you new ninjutsu. This is Shimura Danzo trying to save face for himself. It is obvious that he cannot get the sealed book, but he still tries to protect his dignity in front of his subordinates. Yes. Akihara Kagura will not expose his boss. Always leave enough room for the boss to maneuver. Although Danzo has not got the sealed book at this time, what if he gets it in the future? Don't slap him too quickly or too quickly. If it really doesn't work, Danzo can't get the sealed book, then you can think of a way to help Danzo get it. Go and have a rest. Shimura Danzo waved his hand, indicating that Akihara Kagura could leave. and finally reminded him, in the Chunin exam, you must never lose to that kid named Uchiha Itachi. Can't you kill him? Akihiro Kagura's question was more like an answer to Shimura Danzo. Shimura Danzo shook his head and sighed, don't always think about killing people, especially some people are still useful. Uchiha Itachi is still useful to me. Chapter 24, when you invite someone to dinner, you should rush to pay the bill. The next day. Konoha Village. Ichiriko Ramen. A boy sat in the ramen shop and slurped his noodles happily. A young man with glasses sat next to him, picked up the ramen with his chopsticks, and took a bite of it seriously. After taking a bite, he even wiped the stains on the corners of his mouth with a tissue. This way of eating is undoubtedly more elegant than the boy next to him, which inevitably makes people around him think that the boy's style of eating noodles is a bit rude. So gentle. A girl looked at the elegant young man with stars in her eyes. The manager of Ichiriko Ramen is a middle-aged man. People in Konoha Village call him the hand-beating uncle or the hand-beating boss. The girl who is talking is his only daughter, Aim. The hand-type boss seemed to feel that it was a bit rude, and gently patted the girl who was talking. Aim, don't stare at the guests like that, you're disturbing them from eating ramen, I know. Little Aim pouted in dissatisfaction, and secretly glanced at the boy who was eating a little rudely. You are obviously quite good-looking, why do you eat so fast? Because your ramen tastes delicious. The boy praised sincerely, I feel like I have energy after eating a bowl of ramen, although it should be because I didn't have breakfast. Thank you for the compliment. The hand-type boss could only thank the customer for the compliment as always. I've never seen you before. Little Aim was a little curious about this boy of the same age as her. Are you a ninja from another village? Are you coming to Konoha to take the Chunin exam? I'm an Anbu ninja in the village. The boy spoke shamelessly about his identity. The young man seemed to be afraid that Aim didn't understand, so he began to explain to her seriously. Anbu, do you know Anbu? It's the darkest department in the village. The kind of Anbu that appears in other people's homes in the middle of the night and kills the whole family. Aim widened her eyes. The hand-type boss tried his best to open his eyes, a little surprised that he had been in Konoha for many years, but he had never heard of such a strange term for Anbu. The hand-type boss felt that something was wrong. At this time, a white-haired Anbu ninja came over with his teammates and corrected them. Hey, don't slander the reputation of Anbu here, Akihiro Kagura. I remember that you, little guy, are not an Anbu ninja either. Huh? Am I not an Anbu ninja? The young Akihiro Kagura looked up in surprise, and seeing that the visitor was a familiar person, he suddenly squinted his eyes and chuckled. Senior Kakashi, do you mean that the Anbu training class is not within the combat sequence of the Anbu? Hatake Kakashi was silent and unable to answer. Although everyone thinks that the route is not a formal Anbu ninja, the official name of the route is the Anbu training class. In theory, the route ninja is indeed within the Anbu organization. This little guy seems to have become more polite than last time. At least he is willing to call himself a senior. Long time no see. The young boy Akihiro Kagura greeted Hatake Kakashi enthusiastically, and his eyes moved to Tenzo next to him. Hey, traitor, you are here too, long time no see. Don't worry, Lord Danzo won't let me kill people in the village, you are safe. Hatake Kakashi took back his previous evaluation. Tenzo hesitated and didn't know whether to say hello. Sizzle Yakashi Kabuto was still sitting at the table, eating ramen politely. Aren't you supposed to take part in the Chunin exam today? Hatake Kakashi came over and asked curiously, do you still have time to come here to eat ramen? The first written test should be about to start, right? It doesn't matter. Akihiro Kagura shook her head indifferently and said, what does it matter if I enter early or late? I don't know anything on the test paper anyway. Everyone present was silent. So why are you so embarrassed to say that? That Chunin exam. Tenzang, who was standing nearby, hesitated for a while, but still spoke up to remind them, if you are late, it seems that you will be judged to be disqualified for the exam. Oh. Akihiro Kagura nodded as if she understood, and looked at Kabuto Yakashi next to her, his expression still calm. Kabuto, didn't you hear what others said? Didn't you have breakfast? Haven't you eaten ramen? Don't you have money to pay the bill? You have a bad temper. Aim couldn't help but complain, and when she saw the boy's eyes slowly moving over, she was scared and quickly bowed her head to apologize. I'm sorry. It's okay. Akihiro Kagura shook her head and pointed to the empty bowl on her table, then, as a sincere apology, can you give me a waiver today? Otherwise, In order to catch up with the exam, I may have to buy on credit first. Just send the bill to the Anbu for me. AM was stunned. I'll pay. 3 voices rang at the same time. One of the voices sounded somewhat helpless, one voice sounded somewhat restrained and uneasy, and the last voice sounded somewhat calm. Hatake Kakashi reached into his pocket, looked at Tenzao who was also taking out his wallet next to him in surprise, and then looked at Yakashi Kabuto who was paying. It seems that you have good popularity. Zio AM took the money and praised the boy for a rare time. Maybe. The boy Akihara Kagura seemed to be somewhat contented. In fact, the 3 people who want to pay for me are the ones I want to kill. Everyone present was silent. This kid's mouth is really offensive. Hurry up and take the exam. Hatake Kakashi frowned. If it weren't for the precedent of Tenzao before, Kakashi wanted to pull Akihara Kagura out of the hellish place of the root organization, and he didn't want to pay attention to this arrogant kid. Let's go. Akihara Kagura waved to Kabuto Yakashi, and glanced at Kakashi and Tenzao. Tisk, what a pity, you 2 were a step late when paying. In the future, if you want to do things or treat people to a meal, it's best to pay the bill faster than others. Hatake Kakashi and Tenzao looked at each other in confusion. At this moment, they didn't know what this kid meant. However, Kabuto Yakashi, who paid first, soon felt what benefits he could get by paying first when inviting Akihara Kagura to dinner. Cow, I will still kill you and Dinono. But since you treated me to a bowl of ramen today, I can tell you a useful piece of news first. Akihara Kagura's gaze shifted to Kabuto Yakashi, who looked calm, and continued slowly. The Iwagakure village you are going to sneak into, and Dinono is also there. Second update. Akihara is not a bad person. Chapter 25 Uchiha Itachi, you really didn't disappoint me. People often have low expectations of villains. Even if this villain just does a good thing, it will change people's attitude towards him. Kabuto Yakashi believes that Kagura Akihara is not a completely cold-blooded child. This is a boy with good intentions. Kagura Akihara, who has always hated himself and Nono Yakashi, is willing to tell him important news about the dean. Perhaps the boy's murderous intention is not that strong, but he has been blinded by jealousy and hatred. Kabuto Yakashi thought for a while and planned to release his kindness. I have collected some information about the Chunin exam. The first written test is likely to be under the supervision of the invigilator, testing the examinee's ability to collect criminal investigation intelligence. What a coincidence. Kagura Akihara raised his eyebrows and couldn't help laughing at the corner of his mouth. I don't seem to be very good at collecting intelligence. It seems that this written test is a bit difficult for me. Then Kabuto Yakashi adjusted his glasses and said softly, then, can you allow me to help you do a little thing? Kabuto Akihara's smile suddenly became stronger. If you really want to help someone who deserves help, you must respect the person asking for help, rather than offering help in a condescending manner. Kabuto Yakashi is a person who really understands the ways of the world. But there is another social rule of the ways of the world. If someone owes you a big favor, it is best not to ask him to do a small favor. This will result in an exchange of quantity for quality, and neither of you will be satisfied in the end. I don't need it. Akihara Kagura's face suddenly turned cold. The boy refused Kabuto Yakashi and said coldly, I can do this kind of small thing myself. You go to the Hidden Rock Village to carry out the task assigned to you by Lord Danzo. Okay. Kabuto Yakashi nodded slowly. Akihara Kagura touched his chin and looked back at the Ichiriko ramen restaurant in the distance. I don't know how long it will take for Senior Hatake Kakashi to eat at Ichiriko ramen. Kabuto Yakashi turned back in confusion. The entrance area for the Chunin exam. The entrance room for the first written exam is very large. A group of Shinan stayed here in groups and chatted. As everyone present chatted, their eyes would more or less turn to a figure in the corner, a very handsome boy. Uchiha Itachi. The eyes of the whole room were mostly focused on him. The Shinan candidates present were more or less older than Uchiha Itachi, and they were a little uncomfortable seeing this 10-year-old kid in the examination room, and this kid was from the Uchiha clan that the villagers hated and feared the most. A genius of the Uchiha clan. I heard that the kid is going to take the exam alone. Humph, the people of the Uchiha clan have always been arrogant, and it is normal for them to think that they can pass the Chunin exam alone. The kid is really arrogant. Uchiha Itachi stood quietly in place. Although he was only a 10-year-old boy, Uchiha Itachi was more patient than other older Shinan, and he seemed to be able to stand so quietly forever. Even if there were people talking about him all the time, he didn't care at all, as if he couldn't hear anything and didn't care about other people's opinions. Bang! The door of the room cracked open instantly. As the door was kicked to pieces, the whole room became silent instantly. A white-haired figure walked into the room with obvious impatience in his tone. "It's so noisy. Your room is the noisiest in the whole building." This group of Jonin was immediately silent. Because the person who came was wearing a green Konoha Jonin uniform, he was not someone that they, the Jonin, could discuss and abuse casually. Even many Jonin recognized his identity. Hatake Kakashi, a very famous genius Jonin in the village, is said to have graduated from school at the age of 5, became a Chunin at the age of 6, and became a Jonin at the age of 12. Most of the ninja world calls him cold-blooded Kakashi or Sharingan Kakashi. Whether in terms of fame or strength, Hatake Kakashi far exceeds other Jonin in the village. The first exam of the Chunin exam has been changed. The Jonin waved his hand at them and said impatiently, "You can go now. Go to the Hokage building to check the latest notice." What? Why did the exam suddenly change? We didn't receive any advance notice. Shut up. The Konoha Jonin coldly stopped a group of noisy Jonin, with obvious contempt in his eyes. "This is the Hokage's order. This will be used as a meeting room. An allies meeting will be held soon. Are you going to delay the important events of the village because of you Jonin exams?" The Jonin present were furious, but they dared not say a word. Kakashi-senpai, 2 adults stood up. These 2 adults were responsible for assisting in the written exam of the Chunin exam. They were not Jonin, but Chunin who took the opportunity to lurk among the Jonin. After all, the first written test mainly tests the reconnaissance and intelligence-gathering abilities of the Jonin. These 2 Chunins will pretend to be Jonin in the test and write down the correct answers to all the questions, providing the intelligence collected by the Jonin. The Chunins who are responsible for assisting the written test have also reported to the new examination room. Hatake Kakashi's expression was full of impatience, as if he had seen through their identities at a glance, but he did not expose them. He continued loudly, "Okay, let's go quickly, don't be late for the new examination room. This place must be cleared immediately for the meeting of Konoha's allies." A group of Jonin could only leave silently in a group. When they left, they didn't even see the Chunin who was maintaining order around them. It seemed that this was really not the written examination room for the Chunin exam. This group of Jonin could only go to the Hokage building to watch the new examination room notice. No one noticed that in a small attic on the stairs, 2 Chunins who were responsible for maintaining order fainted in it. The entrance area of the entire written examination room soon became empty. Kakashi Hatake glanced around and his eyes fell on Uchiha Itachi, the only one who did not move. "Huh? Kid, why don't you go to the new examination room?" "What new examination room?" Uchiha Itachi slowly raised his head, but there was no longer the gentleness of a teenager in his eyes. He asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? Why did you deceive them to go to a new examination room? Isn't it too rude to the seniors?" Kakashi Hatake stretched lazily, seeming a little unhappy. "Kid, even if you are a genius of the Uchiha clan, you have to show a little respect to the seniors, right? The senior Jonin in the village would not be as rude as you." Uchiha Itachi touched his ninja tool bag and shook his head. "The Chunin exam is a big event in the village. It is unlikely that the examination room will be changed when the exam is about to begin. The most important thing is..." Uchiha Itachi's eyes were faintly red, and his voice gradually became serious. "Although your transformation technique is very advanced, under the gaze of the Sharingan." Tisk Kakashi Hatake's figure instantly turned into smoke and dissipated. The young man revealed his true appearance with a smile on his lips. "Hello, Uchiha Itachi. Lord Danzo was right, you did not disappoint me." The first update. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.